It was a pleasant, slightly cool evening. The sign of one of the establishments was illuminated from the outside by a couple of lanterns. There were not many people here today. Only one table was occupied by customers. Their table was already set. The guy either claimed or suggested out loud that the couple had been dating. They, without looking up from their food, unanimously denied it. The girl found the question annoying. She wondered if there was nothing else to ask. Her friends supported her. 20-year-old Dako Dahi doubted their sincerity. After all, how could one explain that the couple walked everywhere together as if glued to each other? The friends had to explain yet again that they were not a couple in a relationship. This was not the first time. The girl asked how long it was possible to discuss their relationship, and even began to threaten violence. Dako was suspicious that the guy and the girl never left each other's side. The blonde replied that he hung around with her friend every day. So did that give reason to think that the guys were in a relationship? The interlocutor apologized and said that the young man was not his type, and he didn't like the girl sitting opposite him either. She was surprised and assumed that was why he didn't have a partner. Now it was clear, and she didn't want to know about his tastes. She buried her face and shook all over. She asked for forgiveness because she really didn't understand how she could be something is connected to this guy. Meanwhile, the brunette tried to shove the burger into his mouth, loudly slurping. Dako said that he was angry just looking at that face. He asked to give the guy to him. The blonde, having assessed it critically, assured that it would be a waste of time, and the guy started praising the food out of place. The friends realized that he hadn't even heard anything. The girl was sure that her friend's problem was not at all in his appearance. This winter, everyone was wrapped up in warm clothes, and he was wearing a t-shirt, shorts, and slippers. A friend said that this was the fashion these days. The interlocutor sympathized with all the dead fashionistas. The guy didn't even hope that his friends would understand him. He assured that dressed like that he felt luxurious. And changing the subject, he suggested eating, because there was nothing to talk about. His girlfriend noticed the incompatibility of his face and character. A friend reminded her of her worries about her short-cut bangs, and he started to tease her about it. But soon he got a slap on the back of the head with threats. Dako adjusted his glasses on the bridge of his nose and suggested to his friends who were ready to kill each other to imagine that one of them suddenly fell in love. He asked if they would continue to deny everything then. The friends were taken aback and thought for a while. She pointed her finger at him dismissively, said she hated him and really didn't see him as anything more than a friend. She said that when he got a girlfriend, she would block his contacts. The friend said that was impossible because he considered himself a handsome guy. The squabble continued, but to Dako it was less like a lover's quarrel. Soon even hands were used. The friend consoled himself that it was a pretense. They denied it. Dako asked if the friends were suddenly locked in a dark room. Would anything happen between them? They all said in unison, "Nothing." Our heroine was the one who dreamed most of a bright student life. Her name was Han Kyul. She asked what his important conversation was about. The guy standing in front of her was a friend and comrade she had grown up with. His name was Kang Tae-pyong. They were both in their 20s. The guy was holding an envelope in his hands, and he was asking his friend to guess what it was. Han Kyul asked him. It turned out that her friend had received a letter of confession. The girl advised him to at least shave his legs. Her reaction was justified. After all, she was sure that there would soon be a breakup, literally in a few days. Kang Tae-pyong was impatient, but wanted to open the envelope with his friend. The girl asked him to kill her. She was irritated. These two had a special style of communication, and they never took offense at each other. And all this is because they had known each other since childhood. The girl knew that there was friendship between the boys, but thanks to the parents on both sides, this friendship of their children became possible. Kyul asked how long her friend's relationship with his new passion would last this time. The guy even frowned, and then he asked himself as if, what could one talk about with a lone wolf? Now it was the interlocutor's turn to frown. Turning her back to her friend, the girl announced that she was going to go home. Taepshin asked to forgive him. He wanted to at least hear her congratulations. A friend was surprised that in their time people still wrote letters, and she asked if it was a notification. Now the friend had already turned his back. Having called Kyul a beauty, he asked her to be patient for a little while. The girl was ready, bet money that the relationship would not last even 3 weeks. However, more time passed than the stated time, and it seemed that the relationship was serious. But a week later, the girl received a call. Han Kyul was already fast asleep. But the phone persistently continued to vibrate and ring. Our heroine cursed herself silently for calling at dawn. The subscriber's name on the screen was Cap Keption. The girl took the device in her hands, sleepily rubbed her eyes, tried to understand what business he had at night. She assumed that the guy could have just dialed by accident. But as soon as she took the call, Cap Teption blurted out the news that he had broken up with his girlfriend. The guy said that his beloved hated him, and he thought that their union was made in heaven, and he even bought his beloved a gold ring of the highest quality. Cap Teption complained about his fate. His voice broke. The girl guessed that he had started to cry, and asked why he was upset. It would seem that she should share her friend's grief, but for some reason Han Kyul wanted to laugh. After all, she knew that this would happen. She could barely restrain herself. The guy asked her to come and pick him up at the bar. She agreed, and she started getting ready. Like many girls, she had a problem that she had nothing to wear. Our heroine decided to go and tease Cap Teption. She ran down the street to meet him, smiling broadly and cheerfully. At the threshold of the Chano bar, the girl was met by a gloomy-looking employee of the establishment with cleaning tools in his hands. She was even more surprised that her friend was sleeping face down at the table. In addition to snacks, there was also alcohol. The employee of the establishment assumed that the person who entered was the girlfriend of the late visitor. Our heroine was outraged by this. She began to deny it vehemently, and said that she was just a friend, not a lover of that weirdo. She assured that she came here at his request to take him home. The guy demanded that they take the drunk quickly and leave, because the bar was already closing. Han Kyul apologized, but the employee no longer listened to her and began to wash the floors of the establishment. The young man spoke on the phone with the boss, that the problem had already been resolved and the girl would take the difficult client. He promised to close everything and leave. Our heroine faced a dilemma of how to drag this fool home. She began to wake him up, but he did not respond to the call of his name, Cap Teption. The girl stroked his head. She even regretted laughing at him. She began to apologize. But then Han Kyul found an unpaid bill on the table. She cursed under her breath. She promised to beat her friend. The girl was angry with Cap Teption. She asked how much he had drunk to reach such a state. Her friend did not wake up and did not react to her screams. Han Kyul looked at the check. It was unreal. The guy hadn't even finished one bottle of alcohol. The girl was screaming furiously at her friend. She was asking how it was possible to get drunk from 4 shots of soju. Cap Teption, without raising his head, began to mumble something. His girlfriend ordered him to get up. She explained that the bar was already closing. The guy muttered Sunza. He started talking to his absent ex, that when she left she could at least give him a kiss before leaving. The friend raised his head. Han Kyul shuddered involuntarily. She asked why he called her. She really did not want to see such a sight. Focusing his gaze on the girl, clouded by the drink, he recognized her as his passion. But his girlfriend convinced him that he was wrong. Cap Teption seemed not to hear her. He said that he had been waiting for her for so long. Suddenly, he stood up abruptly and began to stroke her head. Our heroine was seriously scared. She asked her friend to come to his senses. She said that her name was Han Kyul. The guy called her to be quiet. He asked her not to be shy and take off the hood. He assured her that it hid the face of his sweet Suzy. He offered to take it off. But the girl was against it and asked him to stop. And then in her heart she called him a moron. She was embarrassed that she had unwashed hair. But the friend liked her scent. Han Kyul asked him to come to his senses. The guy leaned over her and offered to kiss her. The heart started racing. Kang Tae-pyong insisted on a kiss. His girlfriend tried to persuade him to wake up. She didn't understand how such nonsense could be on a person's mind. The blonde tried to convey that her friend had confused her with his ex, but their lips were almost touching. The girl was getting ready for her first kiss. Instead, the friend threw up right into her hood. The janitor's mouth dropped open in surprise. Han Kyul was dragging the drunk big guy on her back. It was very hard for her. The girl was thinking about what she would do to him after he woke up. Finally, it became too much for her. The girl threw her friend off of her. He began to wake up. The drunk started saying that he needed to go to some eatery. He immediately got a kick from Han Kyul. The girl said she was going home. But then Kang Tae-pyong sobered up and began apologizing for half an hour. The brunette laid his head on Kyul's shoulder. He expressed his enormous gratitude to his friend for her support. The girl removed his head with displeasure. After all, she did not understand such tearful gratitude. Taepshin offered to buy her something to eat. The girl agreed only because she was really hungry. The blonde threatened her friend that next time she would tell his mother about something like this. The guy asked her to do anything but not do it. Soon they left the store. Kyul demanded compensation for the sweatshirt. The girl treasured the old thing. The friend creatively offered to take it. The guy in black walking in front of them suddenly dropped something from his pocket. The friends approached the thing. It was a Tamagotchi with a rabbit on top and the numbers 003. The blonde called out to the guy. But the stranger didn't turn around. Kyul put what she had found into her companion's pocket. He asked where the girl was reaching her hands. Even though he no longer had a girlfriend, the guy didn't allow himself to be pestered so easily. Our heroine thought that he was simply unbearable. Half an hour later, the blonde knocked on her friend's door. But no one answered. Calls to his phone were also ignored. But the door to the dwelling was open. Kyul entered. And there she saw Taepshin, naked to the waist. She immediately asked him why he was walking around like that. The guy replied that he was washing himself. The guest thought to herself that he had such a great abs. The girl said that her friend had scared her. Then Taepshin patted the blonde on the head in a friendly way. She thought that something bad might happen. She had to draw a line. They went out to eat ramen. The girl was drinking too much beer. The brunette asked about it. The blonde replied that she was also sad about her best friend's breakup, although she drank quite cheerfully. Kyul woke up on the floor. The girl's head was splitting from a hangover. She was drunk and passed out right on the floor. The girl was horrified by the number of empty bottles. But she couldn't believe that she had drunk so much the night before. For some reason, her pants were wet. And the Tamagotchi she had given to Taehoon was in her pocket, vibrating. Kyul didn't know why she wasn't wearing a sweater, or where her friend was. She looked back. She saw him on the other side of the table. The guy wasn't wearing a sweater either. Our heroine secretly hoped that she hadn't touched the guy under the influence of alcohol. The events are transferred to 4 years ago. 16-year-old Kang Tae-pyong and Han Kyul were sitting on a swing in the evening with ice cream in their hands. The guy told her that he had recently refused the head of their class. His friend was outraged. She didn't understand how he could refuse such a beauty. The friend replied that the person did not match his taste. Kyul said that if he refused her, the scoundrel would get a blow. She asked what his ideal was. Taepshin hesitated with his answer. The girl had time to think, would he really call her? It wasn't for nothing that he spent so much time with her. The brunette asked Kyul to move closer, then to give her hand. But instead of answering, the guy bit off her ice cream. The girl called her friend a fool and hit him on the hand. For some reason, she had hoped for something else. Finally, Taepshin answered. He said that his type was tall and crazy, with a beautiful soul. The blonde thought she was 158 centimeters tall. It was definitely not her. She asked where her friend was going to find a generous, beautiful girl. The guy said that there was one sitting next to him. Kyul exclaimed, "Is she really his type?" But the young man said that she was short. After that, he noticed that the girl was disappointed. The girl denied it. Then the guy patted her on the head and told her to grow up. Then his girlfriend would become his ideal. Our heroine tried, hung on the horizontal bar, did all sorts of stretching exercises. But she didn't grow as much as she wanted, and her friend found himself another girl. One day he asked in a message to congratulate him on the arrival of a girl. Kyul asked what was special about it, and added that he was sick. Soon a new girl from Taehyung's account asked the blonde to keep her distance. I wrote about the lack of friendship between the sexes. I asked to understand the situation. Kyul responded with a nodding smiley. When Kang Tae-pyong had girls, he and his girlfriend would stop talking. But they would start talking again right after they broke up. It was a clearly defined line. But today it was interrupted. Kyul, frightened, decided to leave her friend's apartment immediately. She got dressed. But the brunette lying on the floor grabbed her leg. She asked where she was going. They weren't done yet. Yesterday's food. Tae-pyong suggested having breakfast. After that, the friends got dressed and went outside. They didn't talk about what happened that night. Kyul couldn't leave it like that. She started talking about the drunken mistake. But she didn't have time to finish. Their mutual friend suddenly hugged her interlocutor from behind, appearing from somewhere. The 20-year-old white-haired Kim Jo-ha. It turned out that he overheard the conversation about the mistake while drunk. He started asking tricky questions. Kyul somehow got away with it. The blonde said he had thought of something else, as if they had finally done it while drunk. The girl said that she urgently had to go. Jo-ha invited the brunette to go with him to the cafe. The young man tried to get rid of his annoying friend. He wanted to talk to the girl, but she had already managed to run away. Later, lying on her bed at home, Kyul thought that she had almost allowed dirty rumors to spread. The girl did not understand how she had come to this, and she decided to give up alcohol. She tried in vain to remember the previous night. Memories of the girl undressing came to mind. I wondered if it was really her initiative that had caused this. Kyul wrote to a friend, with a question whether they had anything yesterday. The blonde decided to wait for an answer and take a break, but it was only 5 hours later that the message was read. The friend wrote that he had just put his phone on charge. The girl was about to call, but at that moment, Taepshin himself called his friend. He said that he was standing in front of her house. He asked her to come out and talk. Our heroine ran straight to him. She was even out of breath. The young man asked if someone was following her. I noticed her haste, and she was dressed rather coolly. Having caught her breath, the girl finally asked her question. Had they done it yesterday or not? Taepshin asked what it was. Then the girl asked directly what happened last night. The brunette said that his girlfriend blew up a balloon out of a condom and turned it into a dog. It was a lot of fun, but he asked her not to drink so much anymore and to have a good snack. The girl began to remember. She was glad that nothing of what came to her mind was there. Tae-hyun advised her to do something about her bangs. In his opinion, the hairstyle was preventing the girl from getting boyfriends. Soon the friends said goodbye until tomorrow. But for some reason, Kyul's heart was still beating faster. Did she really fall in love with? No. She was probably just going crazy from the lack of a relationship. And this guy made her so worried. Impossible. The girl mentally sent him away. The bastard didn't care. The blonde showed her middle finger to her friend as he walked away and quietly began cursing. She even wished to step in dog poop. Suddenly, the brunette stopped. Kyul was afraid that he could hear. It turned out that he had been called. The girl exhaled. When Tae-hyun came home, he discovered that his favorite sneakers were covered in dog poop. He thought with laughter who could have cursed him like that. And the sneakers needed to be washed. The guy thought about how it was done. At such moments, the young man sadly remembered his life with his mother. It just needed to be washed with something smelly. Taepshin managed to do it. He was proud of himself. Later, he decided to spend some time playing video games. Turning on the computer, the guy suddenly remembered Kyul. He decided to check on her. I saw that the girl had changed her profile photo. In it, my friend was bizarrely sticking out her lips. Taepshin decided to call. She didn't answer. Once, twice. The guy would have more fun playing with his girlfriend. Kyul was chatting to herself in her mind at this time. She didn't understand whether she had calmed down or not. She couldn't figure out if she still liked Taepshin. It was hard to figure out if he was a good guy or a bad guy. All of this was haunting. The blonde began to angrily beat her pillow with her fists, denying that she had any feelings for Taephin. Stopping, she thought that all her life she had only a friend by her side. She decided to check if she had feelings for him. I wanted to take his hand, to see if there would be a spark, and if reciprocity would follow. Kyul came to the university in the morning with thoughts about the spark. The girl entered the auditorium. There were 3 guys sitting at the desk, Taepshin, Yoha, and Dako. Without greeting, the girl took the brunette's hand. Friends asked in surprise what it meant, but Kyul did not feel the desired effect. Then she intertwined her fingers into a lock. At the same time, she looked spiritually into the guy's eyes. But the spark never appeared, so there was a mistake. Han Kyul hurriedly left the auditorium without comment. Taepshin calmly dismissed the suspicion. He said that their friend was simply unique. Kyul skipped along the corridor. The students stared. They didn't understand what was wrong with her. The girl went to school with a calm soul. The couple had exhausted the blonde. Besides, she felt hungry. She hadn't eaten anything since yesterday evening. The girl realized that she had no one to eat with. She didn't make friends, because she missed events. And after classes, she always went home. The next lesson was soon. The blonde did not have time to return home. She did not like to eat alone. And the only friend of the unfortunate woman was Kang Tae-hyung. The girl had already started typing a message to her friend. But then she stopped. It was impossible. They had only just met. She decided to eat herself. But the sight of the school cafeteria, where everyone was sitting in groups, upset Kyul. It was awkward. The same picture at the store. Crowded, everyone with company. The student decided to go hungry. Someone called out to her. Turning around, the girl saw her friend. He asked why she was standing there alone. He suggested going out for hot dogs. While he was finishing his sentence, the blonde disappeared somewhere. The surprised young man even thought he had imagined it. The student saw his girlfriend again near the university. He voiced a repeated offer to eat together. The girl pretended not to hear. Taepshin shouted that he was treating her. Then the white-haired girl stopped for a moment, but she didn't change her mind and started running. The athlete was amused. He ran after her. Having caught up with his girlfriend, the brunette grabbed her hand. He playfully asked if the blonde thought she wouldn't be able to keep up with her. The guy asked seriously what was the matter. Keel stammered that nothing of the sort. The friend lifted her up in his arms and announced that the offender was under arrest for attempting to escape. Students passing by were looking at the couple. The girl was struggling. The friend let her go on the condition that she would not run away again. Taepshin claimed that he knew what his friend was planning. The blonde didn't understand what he was talking about. The young man asked if she was going today. The girl asked where exactly. The brunette said that dinner with the guys from the stream was planned for today. Keel was not going to go. The guy didn't understand why. The girl had almost no friends anyway. The blonde replied that people go to university to study, not to hang out. Keel's only friends were him and Midji. They had been close since elementary school. The girl convincingly stated that she was fine with both. Taepshin promised to take care of his friend. She asked why, since she wasn't a child. On the day of the move, the guy promised his friend's father that he would protect the girl from bad company. The mother said that they were already adults, but the old man gave him money and still asked him to take care of his daughter. The guy promised to act as Keel's bodyguard. The girl's father said he would be happy with his daughter's choice. The blonde remembered that the guy was doing this for money and asked him not to hug her. People around him might think that they were dating. Taepshin assumed that this was exactly what his friend wanted. The blonde began to threaten to beat him up. The young man asked again if she would go to dinner with the stream. The girl again refused. The guy promised to introduce his girlfriend to 50 people, but she was not impressed. Finally, the friend said that if the girl did not come, he would drag her by force. Keel remained firm in her position. In the evening, the Faculty of Design held an open meeting with students, teachers, and clubs. A bald professor in sunglasses with a microphone in his hands gave an inspired speech. The teacher was applauded. The host announced that the professor would also treat those present to 10 pizzas. After that, the applause was heard again. Keel was present. She clapped along with everyone else, but she was bored and uncomfortable. Everyone around had only recently met, but they were already in full swing communicating. Taepshin wasn't next to her. The guy was delivering food. The blonde thought it was strange to be so active everywhere. Their eyes met. The friend winked at her. Then he came up to her. He asked why the girl was sitting alone. Keel answered irritably that that was why she didn't want to go. The young man brought his girlfriend an egg roll. He thought she would like it. The brunette asked the girl to eat for now. Yoha and Dako were supposed to come soon too. Keel said that these were not her friends. The guy replied that without her he would not find anything to talk about with the guys. Taepshin was called. He reminded his friend about the promise of 50 friends. With shining eyes, he told her to believe in him, and he walked away from his friend's table. The blonde with tears in her eyes wanted to kill this idiot. After all, he left her alone at the table. The girl hated such awkward situations. Looking around nervously, the quiet girl couldn't understand how people communicated, how they started a dialogue with strangers. The long-haired guy in a cap noticed the lost blonde. He sat down next to the girl. He asked why the new girl was sitting at the table all alone. The girl was completely confused. She was silent. The long-haired man said hello. Keel was about to leave, but she responded to the greeting, stumbling. The guy mimicked her. The long-haired guy began to good-naturedly ask if the girl wanted to run away. The blonde awkwardly denied. But the young man understood that he had caught her. They were noticed by Taepshin. The guy decided to make sure everything was okay with his girlfriend. He assumed that the girl really was talking to a stranger. After all, he knew that from early childhood it was difficult for his friend to get close to people. The girl was disliked by her peers. But even after years, Keel did not establish contact with people. A brunette once asked her why she always plays on the computer. She doesn't go out with her girlfriends like others. The girl answered that she felt more comfortable spending time alone. Her interests did not coincide with her friends. They did not watch anime or play games. The young man then suggested that the reason was her character. The girl almost hit him, furiously denying it. Watching the couple from behind, Taepshin thought that the girl's mood had finally changed. But he hadn't really changed. She was still incredibly awkward. Keel didn't understand what this guy was interested in. What should she say? The long-haired man asked her name. The blonde introduced herself. The young man said that the name was beautiful. He himself called himself Tesu. The new acquaintance pointed to the number on the sleeve of his jacket. 20. This meant that the guy had enrolled 4 years ago. He was an old man. Kyul thought there would be only freshmen. The young man called the girl a cutie. She winced a little. He offered her a drink. She didn't refuse. Tesu began to teach her the etiquette of pouring alcohol for elders. It was necessary to cover the label. Do not touch the glass with the neck of the bottle. And when drinking, you must turn your head to the left. The new acquaintance said that the girl would still thank him for the acquired skills. The blonde smiled sweetly, and she thought to herself that she would not forgive Tepchen for dragging her here. But who else would have spoken to her first? Therefore, it was possible to listen to this senior student. Tesu asked how many people the girl had met. The blonde answered shyly, "No." The guy said that such a cutie must have made a lot of acquaintances. He added that she was obliged to give him her number. He asked if she had a boyfriend. The girl asked again, looking into the eyes of her new acquaintance. Was this that very spark? Taepchen approached his friends on the street. Some of his friends were smoking, others were just standing. The guy said that the same senior student came, the one who also showed up last year. And then one of the girls had problems. He had already found a new lonely victim. Taepchen asked again who it was. They pointed him to Kyul's table, at which that same Don Juan was sitting with his girlfriend. The blonde's face expressed childish trepidation. She listened to her suitor very animatedly. His friends advised him not to interfere, but the boy rushed to help his precious childhood friend. It was surprising, but when Kyul got into difficult situations, he couldn't control himself. Once upon a time, a guy was indignant that his girlfriend couldn't put some classmate in his place, that he was rudely hitting on her. The senior student sang to Kyul that they exchanged phone numbers for a reason, and the new girl could always turn to him with questions. The guy bragged that he was an excellent student. He advised people to contact him if they needed a good mark from some professor. He kept chatting and the girl nodded. The blonde no longer understood why he was still listening, and why he was not stopping this verbal flow. She wanted to run away, home, or to an internet cafe. The girl decided to say abruptly that she had things to do, and say goodbye. She stood up, but the new acquaintance grabbed her by the bag, asked to show her what was in there, since she was holding on to the thing like that. Kyul was dumbfounded. The guy said that he could still tell a lot of interesting and useful things about student life. The freshman didn't like that weirdo clinging to her bag. She told him to let go. The long-haired guy kept insisting that she sit down again. Then Kang Tae-hyung came up and hugged his friend. The blonde was grateful to tears for her friend's appearance. He arrived just in time. The disgruntled senior asked if they were in a relationship. Tae-hyun told the clingy guy that he was in the wrong place. He pointed out that the seniors were sitting further away, and he began literally pushing the long-haired guy away. Jokingly, he told him that resistance could cause pain, and he really led the obsessive suitor away from his girlfriend. Cole realized that this was her chance to escape. She decided to go to an internet cafe, order noodles with chicken legs and grapes. Taepchen told his friend to freeze and stop. He noticed that he had saved her from a rather difficult situation. He smugly asked his girlfriend what she would do without him. She replied that she would live just fine. After all, he was the one who dragged her here. The brunette still insisted that she stay and make normal acquaintances, introduced her to a group of girls, sitting at the same table. It became even more difficult. The blonde could simply nod to Tess's tirade. What to do now was absolutely unclear. No one spoke to her. Everyone was silent. She asked the girls for permission to go to the toilet. None of them responded. Sitting in the booth, Kyul started Googling how to make friends. The search engine advised her to try to relax and dare to start a conversation. This didn't help much. Then she read the advice. Keep the conversation going on a topic of interest. For example, something fashionable now. Returning to the table, Kyul began babbling about all sorts of nonsense. She asked if the girls had eaten various popular foods. She invited them to eat at all sorts of places. The blonde was clearly embarrassed. The situation was saved by Taepchen, who had just arrived. After the evening, in the company of freshmen, everyone was asking each other who had met whom. In the end, everything turned out better than Kyul imagined. Now there should be no misunderstandings when meeting with his friends' acquaintances. The students were sorting out who was going the same way. The blonde asked if anyone needed to go in her and Taepchen's direction. There were none. The childhood friends went together. Again, it looks like they are dating. Cole didn't like the idea of them being alone again. She wondered if it was because of the brunette that she had no friends. The girl told her friend to go first, and she would stay here for another half-hour. The guy started to whine that he was afraid that girls would follow him. The blonde didn't understand why he was doing this. Dako said that the couple was making up an alibi. Yoha agreed because it looked like it. The girl offered to go with them if they had any bad suspicions. Dako refused under the pretext that today was his leg day at the gym. Yoha was supposed to pump up his arms today. The blonde didn't understand what they were talking about. One of the girls, Sue, said that the childhood friends looked like such a cute couple. They both pretended to throw up. Taepshin said that they couldn't date because he had too good taste. She agreed. She remembered that the brunette was popular and handsome too. Cole took it as an insult, as if she wasn't pretty enough. Sue apologized to her, said that was not what she meant. Everyone started to gather. The blonde didn't want to be alone with her friend. Dako gestured, watching the couple. The girl commented that he was sick. They were walking down the street with a friend. It was so noisy in the new company. And now it was quiet. For some reason, Taepshin was silent. The blonde thought it was because they were being joked about. He was probably thinking about it too. The girl turned to her friend. He didn't answer. The blonde spoke seriously, suggested that they keep their distance, because the guy could be irritated by jokes and suspicions. I assumed that the last scene spoiled his mood. She said that she herself was fine, but he... For some reason, the brunette was silent. Kyul already regretted starting the conversation. Then the girl noticed that her friend was wearing headphones. She couldn't believe that she could put on headphones while walking next to someone she knew. The blonde once again created the drama herself. She was always worried. This damn suspiciousness accompanied the girl her whole life. Kyul screamed loudly and ripped the earphone out of the guy's ear. She said how rude it was on his part. The friend justified himself by saying that he had introduced her to his classmates today, and the ungrateful girl repaid him with such treatment. Then the guy looked at her, asked why his girlfriend's face was so red, inquired if the girl had a fever, put his hand to her forehead, asked to be careful with alcohol, said he was worried. The girl tore her head away, started shouting, demanding that she stop touching her. She thought to herself that this bastard was the reason for her temperature rising, and the fact that she blushed so often. The brunette thought that his girlfriend was mad again. The girl aggressively demanded that he not come closer than 3 meters to her, and don't touch her. She said she would take care of herself. The rumors had worn her out. Taepshin said he understood what she meant, but they had known each other for a long time. A friend recalled that the father was worried about his daughter along with him. Kyul emphasized that she was no longer a little girl. For some reason, the guy suddenly remembered how in high school his girlfriend didn't go to school. The girl was embarrassed. She said it wasn't because of him. Kyul denied that the situation bothered her. She demanded that he stop taking care of her. The brunette stuttered. How could he His friend interrupted him. She screamed and shook her head angrily, repeating the same thing over and over, demanding that it stop. Taepshin reasoned that it was actually good to have an understanding and caring friend. The blonde didn't want to hear it. She demanded that he not call or write anymore, until she contacted her friend herself. She said that she would go first, without him, and she walked away. The brunette was puzzled by such a reaction. It seemed unfair that you only had to show a little bit of care and people were ready to devour you. In any case, she was unique. The guy no longer wanted to save his girlfriend, even if she got drunk. Kyul, still in an irritated mood, lay on the bed. She thought it would only be better this way. From now on, she would stay away from her boyfriend. Then no one will decide that they are in a relationship. And she herself will not make up all sorts of things. Taefyeon just updated his profile picture. He was standing on the court in a t-shirt with a basketball. The girl couldn't get out of her head why her friend remembered that incident from high school. He definitely had nothing to do with it. Well, let him just try writing tomorrow. In the morning, Kyul was awakened by a phone call. The girl sleepily wondered who was restless on a day off. It was Mom. She asked how her daughter hadn't gotten up at such an hour. The blonde reminded her that it was a day off. She asked Mom about the store. The woman replied that weekends were no different from weekdays for her. She said that she had sent her daughter side dishes and marinated crab. She warned that everything had to be put in the refrigerator. Kyul couldn't believe that her favorite crab was coming. She warmly thanked her beloved mommy. She immediately jumped up happily and ran to prepare rice for the dish. Mom warned the girl not to eat alone. She sent a crab for Taepchin too. The blonde twitched. She muttered that everything had to be sent separately. Mom knew that her friend lived in the house across the street, so there was no need to send it separately. She told her daughter to go and get it for him herself. The girl said she didn't want it. Mom told Taepshin to send her a photo of the crab in his refrigerator. The daughter was indignant when she started working in the delivery service. Mom ordered to do it quickly. The girl was thinking about how to deliver the crab. She didn't want to write. She decided to fulfill her mother's request one last time. I assumed that the Klutz would still be asleep on the weekend, so I decided to sneak up to him and put the crab in the fridge, then quietly leave. Kyul couldn't eat it all by herself. Her conscience wouldn't let her. Maybe because her friend said how much he liked the food her mother cooked. The parents often left the boy at home alone. They were so busy at work that they could not take him to the amusement park. The brother and sister were studying. The child went to see his best friend every day. Taepyeong was always unhappy when visiting his neighbors, but his mood improved when he ate his friend's mother's cooking. The boy always asked for seconds. One rainy day, the friends were left alone at Kyul's. The friend's mood did not improve. Then the girl treated him to her mother's crab with rice for the first time. It was divinely delicious. After that, the friends stuffed their bellies with it. When Kyul's parents returned home, they found 2 empty crab bowls. The kids ate so much food together, and they looked at the adults with guilty eyes. They explained that it was an expensive delicacy, but they said that they would definitely treat the neighbor boy to some more. Apparently that moment was a very touching memory for Taepyeong. Perhaps the girl's mother's side dishes were able to brighten up his lonely childhood. No one answered the intercom. The brunette was probably asleep, as Kyul had assumed. Opening the door, the girl saw pitch darkness. It didn't look like morning had come to Taepshin's apartment. He hated sunlight, and probably bought thick curtains. In complete darkness, the blonde literally crawled to the refrigerator. Inside, it was empty like a bachelor's. Taepshin woke up. Because of the laser vision correction, he could not see well in his sleep. But he clearly saw that someone was rummaging through his new refrigerator. He thought it was a thief. The guy took the dumbbell. He approached the offered thief from behind and shouted, asking who it was. To his surprise, he saw Han Kyul, his best friend. He asked her what she was doing there. The blonde screamed at him to get dressed. She reminded him of what she had talked about recently. The guy realized that he was standing in his underwear. He began to frantically pull up his shorts, saying that he was actually at home. And it was the girl who burst in on him. After she herself had screamed at the top of her lungs not to call or write, the guy told the girl to turn away. She replied that she didn't want to look. Finally, Taepshin turned on the light. The blonde replied that she had not come of her own free will, but because of the crab that her mother had told her to take to her friend. The girl completed the task. She was about to leave. The brunette asked her not to be so heartless. He offered to stay and share the crab with him. He said he would be lonely eating alone. Cole repeated that yesterday was the last day they communicated so closely. The friend asked if this was the end of their relationship. The blonde didn't like this phrase. The girl thought he was deliberately making fun of her. The brunette smiled good-naturedly, revealing his snow-white teeth. The girl said that if her friend continued, they would even stop playing together. After making new friends, he should be finished. The guy reminded her how her friend was afraid to go to university. Then Taepshin suggested that they enroll together. The girl asked if this was really why her friend had enrolled here. The brunette said that the girl could go and make friends. But first he suggested doing something. What they had to do. Kyul was horrified, not knowing what he was talking about. The friends were standing on the street. Kyul was wearing a sweatshirt with the words "lonely" written on it. The friend promised to buy her something to replace the damaged one. The girl was indignant that they would be suspected anyway. She didn't want to come closer than 3 meters to Taepshin. The brunette still violated her personal space, taking her by the hands along with him. One of the students noticed their fuss and took a photo in which it seemed as if they were holding hands like a loving couple. The boy remembered that they denied their relationship. He thought that this would be great news at the university. An orange McLaren quickly drove up to the couple. It stopped. Kyul said, fascinated, that the car had a simply stunning body. The brunette was surprised how she could understand cars. The girl replied that she had previously dreamed of becoming a car designer, and now she regretted that she would die without having saved up for such a car. Taepshin encouraged her. He assured her that she needed to dream bigger. The blonde shook her head. If the dream is big, then the disappointment will be the same. The young man condescendingly told the girl to get her license first. This was supposed to be the first step towards her dream. She wondered who could drive such cars. A young man with hair dyed a bluish-violet color got out of the car, and an earring in his ear. Coyle exclaimed that it was an elf. Perhaps it was a celebrity. The brunette wondered if she really liked people like that. The girl replied that he was handsome. A friend noticed that the guy looked more like a gangster. He suggested going where they were going, but he came face to face with a stranger. The two boys stood and looked into each other's eyes. You could feel the tension growing. Kuhl began to tremble. It seemed to her that a fight was about to start. The blonde didn't understand why they couldn't just move away from each other. The young men were pushed aside by a grumbling old woman. The old woman couldn't get past them. Finally, the duelists walked away from each other. Kuhl asked if the brunette was really going to fight a stranger. Taepchen denied it. The weirdo just blocked his way. The girl looked back at the stranger leaving. She wondered what he was doing. They went to a clothing store. The cashier called the friends a very cute couple. She assumed that they came to buy matching outfits. Kuhl replied that they were not a couple at all. The saleswoman said that everyone says that, and that her husband was also a friend at first, and now she has 3 children from him. The woman continued to ask questions about their relationship. The friends hurried to take the purchase, and quickly got out of the ill-fated store. Along the way, they promised not to come there again. Kuhl finally got a hoodie. This made up for the incident with the annoying cashier. Despite her bad mood, the blonde felt like she was winning. She decided to go to bed early, and tomorrow to invite the guys from the university to the canteen. In the morning, Kuhl spent her money on coffee. She discovered that she had 2 weeks until her next allowance, and that her account was low. She had to hold out somehow. The mood was upbeat, although she was a little worried. The girl ran to the university. The classmate sitting in front of her immediately asked if she was dating Kang Tae-pyong. The blonde didn't understand what he was talking about. Then the student showed a photo from their date yesterday. It looked like the couple was holding hands. Kuhl said they just went to buy her a sweatshirt. The guy didn't understand why they would buy a sweatshirt if the couple weren't dating. The blonde waved it off. It took a long time to explain everything, and the dark-haired classmate asked if it looked like a flirtatious gesture. The students immediately began to argue. Someone took Kuhl's side, and the brunette supported the version about the couple's relationship. Suddenly, Taepchen himself appeared near her desk. The gossip girl became nervous. The student who showed the photo handed the phone to the hero of the story. He claimed that Mingi sent him a photo. The brunette commented that the guys were making a fuss for no reason over a photo of him buying a sweatshirt for his childhood friend. And he asked to pass the image to the author so that he could ask personally if he had any questions, and not take pictures on the sly. He immediately deleted the photo on the guy's phone, and threatened consequences for the photographer if this happened again. Kuhl saw that her friend was quite angry, but sitting down at the desk, the guy smiled, turned his head towards her, asked if he had done well. The girl was confused. She said that it had been not bad. During the break, Kuhl couldn't wait for classes to end. In the hallway, she saw her friend again. He was standing by the drink machine. The blonde approached him. She asked him what he was doing. The guy silently handed her the drink and asked her to forgive him. Kuhl didn't understand why he was asking for forgiveness so suddenly, because this could be misunderstood again. The girl said that he was a handsome man and that she was a victim. Therefore, only she would fly, but she decided to drink it anyway. The friends had known each other for 20 years. Nothing had changed. Taepchen still understood when she wanted to drink. The girl said she would be kind to him for this act. The brunette called her strange. Now she gets angry. Now she suddenly becomes so good-natured. The guy promised to be more careful, so as not to harm her. Then they would not have to end their long-standing friendship. He stroked the blonde's head tenderly. Kuhl was indignant that he himself had only spoken of such things. The friend began at length that her charm was in her kindness, but she herself does not understand what this could lead to. Others did not notice this charm, but Taepchen liked it. The girl didn't understand what he was talking about. The idiot was talking nonsense again. The gossip girl from the group noticed the couple together. The student decided to hold back from taking photos and talking. But she thought the blonde was a really funny girl. She decided to see where it would lead. The lectures were over. The guys decided to go to a cafe. The gossip asked Kuhl for forgiveness for what had happened recently. The girl replied that it was nothing to worry about. Everything was resolved. Then the brunette asked if she wasn't dating Taepyeon, and if she wanted to meet someone. Dating was a burden for Kuhl. After all, she always thought to herself that she was not beautiful enough. The brunette replied that the girl didn't look so bad. She just didn't know much about clothes. She just needed to buy something cute. Kyul agreed. The gossip girl asked if the blonde had had double eyelid surgery. The girl shook her head. The interlocutor noted that her eyes looked quite large. As if she did. The brunette said that people become prettier in relationships, but for Kyul it was still burdensome. The friend assured me that they could just chat. If they didn't like it, they didn't have to exchange contacts. It was a good way to distance myself from Tae-pyong. Better to try once than to regret 100 times. Kyul, of course, wanted to date someone, but for everything to happen naturally. She thanked Kiju for the offer, said she would definitely think about it. The brunette did not calm down. She tried to insist. The other girl said that it was not necessary, since Kalul did not want to. Then the gossip made the blonde promise to say what she thought. She agreed. Taepchen showed up at the cafe. Yoha and Dako were waiting for him there. The guy asked how much they had already drunk. They replied that only 1 bottle. They were waiting for him. The brunette noticed that the guys were too energetic for such a quantity of alcohol. He came from training. Tired. Yoha immediately asked about the photo. The brunette again said that it was just a purchase of clothes. The bespectacled man pointed out that the couple were walking arm in arm. Taepchen corrected himself by grabbing the girl's wrist. Dako noted with irony that everyone does it, and there is nothing wrong with that. Yoha assured that Kyul's situation was quite difficult, to which the brunette asked if he had any girlfriends. The bespectacled man replied that of course there was. But with him and the blonde things were much more ambiguous. Yoha did not hold hands with the girls. The brunette said he was worried about Kyul. He couldn't tell you how much they had been through with her since childhood. A friend asked him if he had feelings for the blonde. The guy said no. If he did, they would have been dating a long time ago. He was all for his girlfriend finding herself a good guy. The bespectacled man called the brunette a selfish idiot, accused the athlete that because of him Kyul doesn't have a boyfriend. Taepyeon denied it, said that he doesn't stop anyone from laying claim to her. Then Yoha said that he would like to try it himself. The brunette said please. The bespectacled man didn't stop there. He expressed his reluctance regarding Taepchen being near their mutual friend. The young man didn't want the girl to have such a friend. He asked him to stay away. Taepchen replied that of course he agreed. Because of the idiot in glasses, the brunette couldn't eat. And when he returned home late, he felt hungry, and he decided to go to the store. Out of habit, he wanted to go with his girlfriend. He almost called, but he stopped himself. He needed to keep his distance. He decided to go alone. Kyul was just leaving the store, and not alone, with someone she knew. The brunette took a closer look. Next to her was Natesu. Seeing the guy, the girlfriend asked him with a smile what he came to buy. The long-haired man remembered the freshman from the recent evening. He didn't seem to hold a grudge. Tesu had a good relationship with the professor, with whom he introduced the blonde. Now she didn't have to worry about grades. The guy shared that Taepchen was the most popular with girls this year. He noticed that many first-year girls only talked about him. Koil introduced him to her friend. The senior asked if they were close. The girl said they had known each other for 20 years. And she had only been that long. The blonde, with a smile on her face, bragged to her friend that Tesu had bought her chocolate milk at the store. She was so grateful. She noted that the seniors were different. Taepyeon thought that his friend was still very naive. If he doesn't understand what this game of a good guy leads to. But the girl was happy even with such trifles. And Tesu modestly replied that anyone would do the same. Taepyeon put his hand to his forehead. It looked like mockery. The long-haired guy assumed that since they had known each other for a long time, the meeting... Taepyeon interrupted him abruptly. He shouted that it was not so. The senior asked why he was shouting like that. The guy apologized. He sent the long-haired guy away again. Kale asked why he did that. Her friend replied that she should have been taught not to accept gifts from strangers. The blonde replied that she knew him. Taepyeon turned away. He told her to go home already. The girl asked why. They lived in the same block. They could have walked together. The brunette reminded that it could have been misunderstood. But the friend said that they had just met by chance. This time, it was possible. The thought that Kyul was beautiful crept into the guy's head. He didn't like it. He wanted to throw it out of his head. The girl asked him what was wrong. The brunette thought that the problem was in the tied-up hair. The girlfriend turned to him again. The guy told her to wear her hair down. He said that the girl didn't look very good anyway. And with such a hairdo even more so. He took off the elastic, tousled her hair, suggested that she cover her face with it so as not to scare people away. Then he zipped up his jacket, so that she wouldn't catch a cold. He said rudely that she needed to dress properly. The girl didn't understand what it was. She said that everyone walks like that now. She considered herself a progressive girl. While she was talking, her friend wasn't listening. He went into the store. Near the display case, Kyul asked what her friend would take. She started offering him various goodies. The guy was irritated by this. The blonde asked him not to look at her like that. She was walking around with milk that the senior student had bought. Taepshin said not to drink. Asked to give the product to him. The girl did not understand why. She was going to use it. She said it was a gift. The brunette asked again. A gift then? A few minutes later, the girl was standing at the checkout with 6 bags of milk. Taepshin said to drink what he buys. And he took the milk carton from Na Tae-soo. He opened it and started drinking. The girl asked why he drank. The brunette threw the bag in the trash and told her not to talk to the long-haired guy. They went home. Kyul said he would play at home. She started to tie up her hair. A friend advised to go to bed. The blonde suggested playing together. Taepshin didn't understand what kind of feeling it was. She was just suggesting to play together. Previously, there were no such feelings for a friend. Because of her hair, the friend looked different than usual. The guy started touching the blonde's hair. She asked him what he was doing. Taepshin came to his senses and reminded her that he had told her not to get her hair tangled. Cole yelled that he probably wanted to die. She didn't understand what was wrong with him. She felt sorry for this weirdo's future girlfriend. The brunette came home. For some reason, he was hot. He decided to take a shower. For some reason, he kept thinking about his girlfriend, remembering how she looked today, how she looked at him. The guy's heart started beating. In the morning, Kyul recalled the words about choosing clothes. She sorted through her wardrobe. I wondered if she really dressed that badly. Our heroine only had white and black clothes. Decided to buy some things. Then she found the dress that Midge gave her. Decided to wear it today. The feeling was awkward. The dress was just above the knees. The wind was raging outside, and Kyul was embarrassed by the way it rode up. It was the first time the girl had worn such clothes. Taepshin, Dako, and Joha were walking towards her. The blonde greeted them. The newly minted fashionista shyly returned the greeting. The guy asked if she was going somewhere today, looking so beautiful. Kyul answered that her friend was embarrassing her. Taep Hyung made a sarcastic comment that if you draw stripes on a pumpkin, it will turn into a watermelon. Cole didn't understand why he was still acting like this after yesterday. Still wanted to piss her off. The girl showed her middle finger to her friend. She indicated that she was considered beautiful. The blonde corrected her that the girl was always beautiful. And today she was even better. It was the first time she had heard something like that. She didn't know how to answer. She hesitated and said thank you. They parted. Joha asked the brunette to tell him honestly. Did he agree that his girlfriend was charming? The guy spoke unevenly, as if he didn't understand what he saw in her. The blonde said that this guy was pretending. He saw the expression on his friend's face. Dako confirmed. He suggested his friend confess everything. The brunette told the guys to back off. The lectures were over. Kyul was packing her things. She thought that she had made a bad schedule. She would have to go to most of the lectures herself. But some coincided with Kang Tae-pyong. The girl went to the restroom. Today she received compliments all day. She didn't even want to go home. She decided to dress like this more often. Here her dress was caught in the door. A piece of fabric was torn out. A huge hole gaped just below her back. Kyul remained standing pressed against the door. She wrote to everyone asking for help. No one responded for an hour. The blonde decided to cover herself with her bag and run home. The journey took only 10 minutes. She gathered her courage. The weather service issued a storm warning today. There was a terrible wind outside. The girl didn't know whether to go or go back. It occurred to her to call Taepshin, but it was awkward for that reason. It felt like everyone was looking at her now. That's all they had been paying attention to today. And now she was standing there strangely, clutching her bag to her back. Taepshin called himself. At that time, some girl offered him to go to a bar, but the brunette did not pay attention, dialing the number. Kyul asked where he was. The brunette said that he was in the club room. The friend babbled that she didn't want to call for such a reason. She couldn't explain what had happened. The girl burst into tears. A friend heard her sobbing through the phone. He asked what had happened. The blonde whined and asked to be taken away, asking for forgiveness. The unfortunate woman had no one else to turn to. Taepshin told her not to even think about apologizing. They were friends after all. He asked her not to cry but to wait calmly. He promised to come to her right away. Taepchen left his company. The girl who invited him to the bar said that she wasted her time on the brunette. But he had an urgent matter. Cole wasn't the type of person to call just like that. Maybe it was that day in high school again. She pretends everything is fine, but she still feels bad about that incident. The guy remembered that he didn't tell her about his feelings then. He thought it would only make things worse, and he didn't come to his friend's aid. And if he had acted differently then, it was all his fault. He couldn't be late this time. Taepchen saw his girlfriend. She was standing pressed against the wall. He asked how she was. Was it because of that? The blonde answered that it wasn't that. When the boy heard what had happened, he laughed. He called it a mere trifle. A friend asked for his jacket. The brunette wrapped it around the girl's waist. He asked what Kyul would do without him. Because of the opinions of others, they tried to stay away from each other. But nothing worked out. They decided to continue as before. Taepchen stared at the girl. It was nice to look into her eyes. And he asked himself why he hadn't noticed before that his friend was like that. She asked what was wrong. The guy said not to smile like that or he'll fall in love. Kyul twitched. It was drizzling outside. They didn't have an umbrella. They decided to run home. Taepchen said it would be romantic. The friends were out of breath when they got there. The rain had just stopped. Kyul offered to give her friend his jacket back, but her friend insisted that she wear it home. The blonde asked why he was so red. The guy sneezed loudly. He must have gotten sick. At home, Kyul was looking for something on the top shelf. In the process, she accidentally cut her finger. Soon she finally found her mother's cold medicine. There was a sticker with instructions written on it, and also a note to share this remedy with Taepchen. Our heroine also decided to buy ramen and bandages, and visit the patient, repay him for the service. In the evening, a smiling blonde with a bag stood at Taepchen's door. The girl reminded him that her mother always gave them this medicine when they were children. The owner of the apartment sat wrapped in a blanket. Carrying glasses of hot drinks, Kyul frivolously told how she had seen an elf from McLaren in the store. The inattentive blonde fell, spilling the contents of the glasses on the floor. She landed right on Taepchen. While on top of her friend, Kyul thought that some parts of his body were larger than they appeared. The couple froze in this position, then abruptly changed it. Both friends felt extremely awkward. The blonde quickly said that she would clean everything up. The owner of the apartment said to leave it. The girl continued to tell how she saw the elf from McLaren in the store. Literally ran into him. In the same way, she dropped the things she was carrying. The stranger helped him up. The student saw that his hand was bleeding. The rich man said coldly that everything was fine. But there was also some blood on his face. Kyul thought, what kind of person is he? She advised him to go to the hospital, and left. It was a fascinating story for the girl. But Taepchen didn't understand what was so interesting about it. The blonde with sparkling eyes said that the stranger was handsome, as if his appearance was healing. The friend got irritated. He said he wasn't interested in hearing about such things. But he asked for her hand. The guy covered the girl's injured finger with a bandage. Kyul continued to babble about the handsome stranger, wondering what could have happened to him. She hoped she would see him again. Maybe he lived nearby. The brunette shook her by the shoulders. Covered with Kyul's plasters on his face and hand, the mysterious stranger was driving his McLaren. He thought that this girl was an interesting person. Kyul saw that a new horror movie had come out on a streaming service. She suggested they watch it while they ate. He and his friend had similar tastes in games, manhwa, and movies. They both loved horror movies. The girl was scared, but she assured that she was not afraid, although she herself tried to hide her face under the blanket that her friend was wrapped in. The movie ended. Kyul said it was boring at first, but the ending was just amazing. But her friend was dozing on her shoulder. The blonde didn't even notice how he fell asleep. This was the first time something like this had happened. His head was quite heavy. Taepchen changed. The girl noticed how big his hands were, and the guy himself became bigger. Kyul was turning to her friend, trying to wake him up. His head was so close that the girl could hear her friend's breathing. She was confused. He must have fallen asleep so soundly because of the temperature. I put my finger on his forehead. My friend was just burning up. The girl laid him down, made a cooling compress on his forehead. It was the first time she had seen her friend hurt so much, and it was because of her. Got wet in the rain without a jacket. The girl was going to get some medicine. Taepchen opened his eyes. Before, the guy would have just told her to leave. But these last few days, everything had been pretty weird. The brunette thought that he no longer saw Cool as a friend. He asked her not to leave, just to be with him. He carefully touched her fingertips. Cole wondered why her friend was holding her hand so tightly. The girl told him to let go. She was going to go get some medicine. After all, she needed to bring down the fever. But instead, the brunette pulled her towards himself. The girl asked him what he was doing. She collapsed. A second later, she was lying on her friend again. Tae-pyong asked to stay like this for a while. The girl noted that his voice sounded lower than usual. It was not the usual indifferent tone. The blonde asked him what he was doing. A stream of sweet thoughts rushed through the guy's head. He wanted to hug his girlfriend even tighter. But after that, he could do something stupid to her. The brunette quickly pushed his girlfriend away and told her to go home. It was already late. He said that boys and girls shouldn't sleep together from the age of 7. Taepshin literally threw his girlfriend out, slamming the door behind her. It was dangerous. The brunette was glad he had managed to restrain himself. His heartbeat was simply off the charts. On the street, Cool was indignant at such unceremonious treatment of herself. But her friend's behavior had been strange even before. Could it be that the boy and girl were in their apartments thinking about what had happened and what they had felt during it? A spark or even more. The professor announced a project competition to the students. He linked participation with an exam. Therefore, the competition was mandatory. The teacher said that it was more convenient to work in 4 people. So he suggested that the audience split into teams. Everyone started to sort themselves out. Kyul didn't know who to be with. A friend didn't come today because he was sick. Serves him right. No point in refusing his medicine. Joha touched the blonde on the shoulder. He offered to join their team. The girl agreed. She asked who the other 2 were. They turned out to be Dako and Taepshin, who came after classes. Shaitan said that he is available at any time except for training. The patient noted that he was constantly in the gym, except for breaks for sleep, food, and exercise. He said that he should have entered the physical education department, because he was not interested in anything else. The athlete shrugged. Coyle asked not to quarrel, so as not to fail the project. Yoha started talking to her that he was waiting for the opportunity to get to know each other better more than the competition, and because of this he was excited. The girl asked with a smile why he spoke like that. The guy answered that it was because she was so beautiful. The blonde was embarrassed. She asked him not to joke like that. The guy assured her that it was not a joke. Cole blushed, said she needed to put foundation on her face. The blonde cooed that she looked even prettier that way. The girl asked him to stop. She walked away. Taepyeon clutched the glass of drink in anger. The guy called himself a fool for telling his friend to try. At that time, he was sincerely not against it. After all, there were no feelings yet. But now everything has changed. He will have to stop him. While behaving naturally, Joha suggested creating a group chat. The girl saved his number. The blonde said that her avatar was beautiful too. Kyul was very shy when she heard compliments addressed to her. The brunette said that the picture was photoshopped. Joka tried to convince her not to listen to him, and he said that in life she was much better. Tiefin literally twisted. Dako asked what was wrong with him. The first group lesson was held in the evening in a cafe. Yoha suggested getting some drinks. The brunette commented that Cool could drink 3 bottles. The girl bashfully said not to listen to him. The blonde agreed with this. It was 1-0 in his favor. They decided to drink to the success of the competition. Kyul remembered her friend's illness. She asked him not to drink. She told him to give her his glass. Yoha was surprised that she was so worried about her friend. The girl said that she had known him all her life. 1-1. Kyul didn't eat dry meat. Her friend knew that. But today she decided to try what the blonde had suggested. 2-1 in his favor. The girl asked Daka why he trained so hard. The guy said that he had been chubby since childhood. He started losing weight and got involved in sports. Kyul didn't think he would answer in such detail. She said she would go to the toilet. The blonde and the brunette kindly answered that they would wait. Noticing something was wrong, the girl told them not to fight during this time. When she left, Yoha grabbed his friend by the collar. He reminded her that he had promised not to interfere. The brunette said that he was simply protecting her as a friend. Joha told him to calm down or leave. The boys started pulling each other's clothes. In the toilet, Kyul accidentally bumped into a strange girl. The stranger was looking at her phone and did not see where she was going. Our heroine apologized. The girl dropped her phone. It broke. She demanded compensation for the damage. It was the latest model. Kyul said that she herself was not looking forward. The stranger said that she was the one who apologized first, so she considers herself guilty. It was a bad habit of Kyul to constantly apologize. She did it out of politeness. A seemingly rich fat guy approached the stranger. He asked his lady what had happened. She replied that the girl had broken her phone and tried to run away. Kyul attempted to tell what had happened, but the big guy interrupted her. He asked his passion to step aside. He said that educated people do not act like that, and he began to demand money. Cole replied that she would not return anything, and turned to the exit. The brunette screamed at her boyfriend to do something. The blonde already thought that she had shown herself from a strong side, and the situation seemed resolved. But the big guy grabbed her by the hair and said, "Where is she going?" Even his companion gasped. Kyul demanded to be let go. The man said he would let her go after returning the money. The girl didn't know what to do. Taepshin said that his friend must have fallen into the toilet. She should have returned by now. Joha, chewing, said that something urgent could happen. But the brunette noted the location of the toilet outside, which could be dangerous. Kyul cursed her life, with the troubles that constantly rained down on her. The man said that you should have listened when he spoke politely. Even the brunette began to ask him to let go, and Kyul threatened the police. The rich kid said something like, "You have to bring these girls to their senses." But immediately after that, he flew back to the wall, having received a punch in the stomach. With this gesture, Kang Taepyeong appeared. He told his girlfriend that he was worried because she had not returned for a long time. He said to call him in such a situation. A tear rolled down the girl's cheek. She thought she could solve everything herself. The big guy stood up. He asked what this puppy was doing. Taepshin said that he was the blonde's boyfriend, and he gently hugged his girlfriend. Then the fat guy muttered that they had humiliated him in front of the girl. He assured them that the guys had gotten involved with the wrong person. 3 more rich kids came. Kyul asked if there would be help from the allied side. At that moment, Dako arrived. He took off his glasses. This happened in emergency situations. Taepshin also took a fighting stance. The guy had been doing boxing for 5 years, mixed martial arts for another 5, and judo for 3 years. He was currently going to the gym. Dako hit one of the rich kids with his right. His father was the nation's boxing representative, and his mother was the shot put representative. His parents raised him with strict discipline. Kyul's friends looked a little worse for wear when they came out. She was crying, asking for forgiveness for what had happened because of her. Even Dako's glasses were broken. She promised to buy new ones. The guy asked her not to worry, because he still had a spare pair. But the blonde, sobbing, insisted that she would definitely buy it. Taepshin said to wipe the blood off her lip first, and then talk. Kyul bit someone's arm during a fight, like a real beast. A friend called her fearless, asked what he should do if she kept jumping on everyone. For some reason, he attacked his poor friend, as if reproaching her, asking what she would have done if it weren't for them. Asked if she realized the danger of the situation, as if he was talking to a small, stupid child. The blonde's face sank. She asked why he was shouting. The friend said that she acted thoughtlessly, and that she should have called them right away. He called the girl a fool. Kyul, helpless, began to cry again. She said that it was that girl who started it all, and her friend always treated her like a fool. But the brunette did not calm down. He continued to accuse her of not analyzing the situation soberly enough. Here he noticed tears on the girl's face. He asked what was wrong with her. Joha and Dako began to console her, and to say that she had done nothing wrong. The brunette thought that as usual he was to blame. Joha asked why he attacked the frightened girl. The guy replied that he was worried about her. The blonde replied that they understood worry differently. Joha said he liked the reckless sincerity with which his girlfriend sometimes acted. He called it her charm, but it was really dangerous to deal with that group alone. The guy politely asked to call them next time. The blonde thanked him for these words. She said that the guy was different from the one she had known for 20 years. At the same time, she looked angrily at Taepshin. The friends decided to leave the police station and go home. Kyul was still uncomfortable. She suggested that they at least buy something for their friends at the store. Dahi refused and left. Today he was the king of the fight. It was not for nothing that he spent so much time training. Cole was really curious about why he went to the design department. She decided to find out when they got to know each other better. Taepshin and Joha said that it was time for everyone to move, but their friend held them back. She suggested that they sit down on a bench in the park. She said that she had something for them. Sitting on the bench, the guys pushed each other, chasing each other away. Kyul rushed over. asked if she had kept them waiting too long. She pulled out some bandages and healing cream from the bag. She taped Taepshin's hand. He complained that it hurt, but the girl glared at him and suggested that he do it himself. Then the guy apologized and went quiet. She asked Joey where it hurt. She offered to apply ointment. The brunette wondered why there was such a caring attitude towards it. Taepshin was indignant. He was a closer friend. He said his arm hurt and asked her to apply ointment. The girl's face showed her reluctance to do so. The blonde replied that he had a second hand, and it was occupied by Yoha. But the guy insisted on his pain in several places of his hand. Kyul slapped him, rudely told him to glue everything himself. The blonde stuck out his tongue, said that he didn't understand girls' feelings. Taepshin didn't know what to do with himself. After all, the guy's first natural reaction to stress was to scream. The patched-up Yoha said goodbye. Kyul waved back happily. Behind her head, the brunette was giving him the middle finger. The blonde was beaming. Taephyun really didn't like that expression. They reached home. The girl thanked him rather casually. After all, she was still offended. The friend repeated that he was sorry. The girl said that she was not going to play today. At this time, the brunette quietly tore off the bandage. Kyul noticed that blood was pouring out of her friend's hand. She couldn't ignore it. He pretended it was a surprise for him. His girlfriend started whining that he couldn't even put on a bandage properly. He was just a baby. The blonde said that she needed to put a new one on at home. Taephyun said that it was because his friend didn't take care of him. He suggested letting him bleed to death. His girlfriend said he was talking nonsense. She started hitting him on the back. The girl didn't want to let him into the apartment right away. She said she needed to clean up a bit. Taepshin asked why. They were in a pretty close relationship. Again, he joked that his girlfriend would let him bleed to death. They argued even as Kyul was putting on the bandage, the girl demanding that he freeze while she tried to help. The brunette complained that it was all because she only cared about Joe. The girl said that her friend was not a little child. She accused the guy of yelling at her in a stressful situation. But the blonde guy didn't do that. She said that if her friend behaved like that next time, she wouldn't help either. Then the guy said in a pleasant voice that he would not scream, but would smile like Joha. He asked if the girl would then only care about him. The blonde noted that Kang Taephyung had become very cunning lately. Something had definitely changed in him. At this time, Dako Dahi was in the hall. It seemed that a fire was starting to ignite in him too. The girl suggested that her friend had been playing tricks lately. He had always been so indifferent to everything she did. He couldn't deny it. Kyul asked if her friend really felt something for her. The brunette thought that if he said it now, he wouldn't be able to change anything. The girl immediately thought that she had said something that she shouldn't have said. The friend moved closer to her, asked what she meant, as if he didn't understand. The girl told him to get out of her face. The friend suggested that she enjoyed nagging him. The blonde denied it, said he was nuts. Taephyun called her amazing, said he enjoyed spending time with her, being around her, but it sounded very casual. The girl got tired of listening to this, and immediately threw the brunette out the door. He thought that his friend had a character of some kind. A moment later, Kyul threw his bag away. The guy started to whine that it was new, but there was something cute about what happened to his friend. After closing the door, Kyul thought that she must have gone crazy to have thought of something like that. It was unthinkable that her best friend liked her. Emotionally, the girl went to cool her face under cold water. Soon she returned to the bed. She was haunted by her friend's strange behavior lately. After all, he had hugged her so tightly when he was sick and would not let go. Today he acted like a child wanting attention. I wondered what it was. I assumed it was friendly jealousy. But now he spoke words that were unusual for him so casually. Everything was very complicated. He needed to sleep. Even if he has feelings, let him confess first. With these thoughts, the girl covered her head with a blanket. When he got home, Taephyung didn't know what to do. Should he say it directly or... It seemed like he was going crazy. His pride wouldn't let him. Decided that the right time would definitely come. After all, there had just been the right time. He was afraid that in another similar situation he would hide his feelings again. Dako was doing biceps exercises. He was wondering why the workout wasn't going well. Maybe he was tired after the fight. A pretty brunette came up to him. She playfully said that she hadn't worked out for a long time. She asked for help. She noticed that the guy looked like he knew his way around the workouts. She said dryly to contact the trainers. The girl thought to herself, what an inaccessible jock. She liked that. She innocently said that all the instructors were busy. The brown-haired man finally agreed to help. but only once. The girl decided to unwittingly touch him during the exercise. She didn't like losing. The brunette got a professional, exhausting workout. The guy was yelling at her, demanding good technique, as if he had rolled her into the asphalt. The exhausted brunette asked if she could count on the next training. Dako again advised her to contact the trainers. He wished her luck. He immediately remembered that it was time to take supplements. He had to hurry. The girl tried to say something else, but the jock already had only protein in his head. The brunette thought how cool he was. After the refusal, she wanted to make even more efforts. Kyul saw in the girls' chat that they were offering to meet up, to go to university together. At the same time, Kang Tae wrote a similar proposal. The girl began to think about who to go with, but the persistent friend even called, said he was standing outside her house. It was simply unbelievable. If he demanded she come out, she would come out, of course. She looked in the mirror. Since when did she care how she looked in front of her best friend? As she walked down the stairs, she was preparing herself for natural behavior. Her friend casually hurried her. He asked why she was leaving so late. The blonde replied that she had left immediately after the call. She did not understand why he was looking so intently into her eyes. She herself noticed that her friend had become much more handsome since entering university. She repeated the question of why he looked like that. The brunette was confused. He didn't know what to do. He couldn't control his emotions. Two feelings were fighting in Taepfen's head. Confusion, what if he screwed it up? And determination, what if she got taken away? In the end, the first one won. The guy decided that now was not the time. He simply told her to go to university, adjusting the blouse that had slipped on her hands. The guy advised her to be more careful with her clothes today. Not to cry and not to call him like last time. His tone was worried. Kyul asked if he was really blushing. The brunette started making excuses, but the girl quickly added that it was all a joke, although she actually thought that he didn't know how she felt. The blonde said briskly that everything would be fine, proudly declared that she wouldn't call him anymore. His girlfriend was becoming more and more beautiful. He felt more and more anxious. The excitement came from just looking at her. They approached the girls. They noticed that Kul, as usual, was with his friend. The girl sneered that he was alone, so she took pity on him. Sue thought he had a lot of friends. The blonde laughed and asked if she really believed that. The frivolous girl asked if even handsome guys don't have friends. Taffney measured the girls with his gaze. All three were short, and they looked like Pokemon. It was funny to watch. The guy heroically announced that he had received pocket money. He said that he would buy them whatever they wanted. The group showed up at the auditorium with identical coffee. One of the students jumped on Kul's neck from behind. She said to definitely join her team next time. She was upset that she had missed her classmate. Yoha, who was sitting at the desk, jealously said that the blonde would be with him next time too. The girl asked if Kul loved her more. They started arguing about it. Taepyeong, who was watching this, thought that next time everyone would go far away. The girl thought that Saran, who fought with the blonde, had a great character. If she were like that, she would have more friends and experience in relationships. Saran noticed the blonde had a bandage on his hands. She asked what it was. She assumed he had gotten into a fight. Joha said that it was too long a story. The blonde said in a tearful voice that it was all because of her. The guy corrected that it was because of those idiots. The dark-haired girl asked why the others didn't know. Cole briefly explained that she got into an altercation yesterday, and 3 friends helped her. Saran promised to go with them next time, to beat up all her friends' offenders. Someone said that she would have run away first. The girl announced her second rank in Taekwondo. She asked who wanted to check. Kiju didn't understand who could be hurt by a bunch of guys protecting her. During a break at the drinks machine, the brunette asked how her friend found common ground with the guys, even faster than with them. And I noted to myself that the girl was not as simple as she seemed. Coyle justified herself by saying that they were so busy at the table that she didn't even dare to speak. And Joha himself made contact with her. The brunette continued that the girl probably doesn't want to be in a group with girls, because she only wants to be with Taehyung. Coyle said that it was not like that at all. And smiling amiably, she suggested to be with them next time. The instigator noted that it was difficult for her to work with the boys, because Joha and Taefyeong were very good at designing. She dropped that Kul's work would be immediately visible. Kul promised to work hard, but her friend did not believe in her. She suggested that the girl tell the professor about her desire to change the group. Another brunette with a shorter haircut made a remark to Kiju that she was already crossing the line in relation to her classmate. The instigator asked again. Defender Kyul reminded that this had been going on since last time, when she very persistently offered her to meet someone. The girl asked that if she was so jealous, then why didn't she join the guy's group herself? Kiju began to deny her envy. She insisted that she simply wanted to help her friend. She asked the blonde if she had offended her in any way. Kyul muttered that she was not offended. Then the brunette simply said sorry. At that moment, Taepchun and Yoha came up. The athlete, as usual, put his hand on his friend's head. Yoha asked what they were apologizing for. The brunette replied that nothing had happened. The guy still repeated the question, what she was asking for forgiveness for. The instigator said that there had been a small skirmish. She asked Kyul to confirm that everything was okay. She nodded. She thought that there was no need to complicate things because of herself. Once again, it was all because of her. She still couldn't handle this on her own. Noticing that his friend was lost in thought, Taephyung asked her what was wrong. The girl turned around. She answered, nothing special. It was funny that in all the unclear situations she relied on Taephyung. She needed to learn to solve problems on her own. She didn't want something like this to happen again. After class, our heroine thanked Iha for protecting her from the instigator. The girl replied that there was no need to thank her, but she asked why she kept silent and did not stand up for herself. The blonde replied that she was used to holding back, so she didn't attach much importance to it. Apologized for the inconvenience. Her friend asked why she was always apologizing. The brunette said that she probably shouldn't have interfered. Kyul tried to convince that she was grateful. Her friend said that she really can be too straightforward. The guys were going to go to a cafe. Yihi was supposed to do a tarot reading. The blonde asked if Taepchun was coming. The professor asked him to do something, so he couldn't. But he saw that Kyul was sad, touched her head, said he would buy his friend something tasty later. The girl said that everything was fine with her, but the brunette said that you can tell from her face when she is in a bad mood. He said that at such moments you need to treat your girlfriend. He promised to go later where she wanted. The blonde said that she was very glad to have a friend like him. Joha dragged her into the cafe by the hand. Saran asked why he was so clingy to the girl. He answered irritably that he was in the same group with her. The combat friend said that she would also go to the cafe. The blonde reminded her that she was going on a date with someone today. Then she told Kuhl to be sure to notify him if he did anything bad to her. Taepchun and another student entered the lecture hall to see the professor's assistant. She was a girl with glasses. She immediately became alarmed. She said that she would go get the tools. The brunette volunteered to do it for her. The girl thought to herself that as she expected, the guy was handsome, and he had excellent manners. In another classroom where Taepchun went to get his instruments, he texted his friend to come to the cafe at 8. She agreed. She wrote that her friend was the only one who understood her. 2 girls entered the dark room. The brunette asked who it was, but they didn't hear him. They were talking about how they would be meeting with the guys from the physical education department today. From the voices, he realized that it was Kiju and Saran. The blonde asked why her friend hadn't said goodbye to Kyul and Ihi today. She replied that they looked like idiots. Taepchun was about to go out into the light, but he stopped. The blonde asked why the girl spoke about her friends like that. The brunette said that she only communicated with them because Kyul was Saran's friend. She said that Ihi picked on her, because she treats her badly. She dared to tell her to join the group with the guys. She herself is not some kind of girl who is greedy for boys. Saran noted that she was exactly like that. The brunette cursed her mentally. Taking out her lipstick, she said that it would be hard to communicate with Kyul if she had a handsome best friend. And she called the girl a loser. And she thought that if it weren't for Cap Tapkin, she wouldn't have any friends. The guy thought that because of him, his friend was being discussed again. He came out of the shadows. Kiju jumped. She wondered if her boyfriend had heard her. But he asked specifically about the conversation that had just taken place. He was interested in what Han Kyul had done to displease her. The brunette began to make excuses. Then he asked why he was discussing the girl behind her back. He said that it had been bothering him for a long time. He promised that he would not leave it so easily. He suggested that next time he at least insult her openly. After that, the guy left the auditorium. He thought he needed to get out as soon as possible, to eat with his girlfriend. The subscriber did not answer the call. Kyul did not pick up the phone. The brunette was waiting for her. She had to come since she agreed. He had already arrived at the cafe. There were a lot of people. His friend would definitely like it here. She wanted to come here after all. The waiter asked the guy how many there would be. He replied that there would be 2. The restaurant worker kindly told him to call him when they were ready to order. Taepshin thought that it would take time to cook, and he was hungry. He stopped the waiter and ordered 3 portions at once. The food was brought. The guy decided not to start without his girlfriend. Otherwise, she would be offended. While I was thinking whether to raise the topic of Kiju or not, I decided to remain silent, because it could hurt my friend. I wish Kyul would come sooner. He was very hungry. 40 minutes had already passed. His girlfriend had not come, had not called, and had not written. The food looked so tempting on the set table.
The students entered the cafe. The guy asked the tarot reader where she learned it. She answered that she was self-taught. She was interested and somehow learned it. Our heroine looked at her phone. It was already 5 o'clock. She decided to stay with the guys until 7:30. The company ordered cocktails with ice. The fortune teller handed over a deck of cards. She asked Kyul if she wanted to know when she would start dating someone. The girl was intrigued. She answered positively. He asked if the blonde had anyone in mind. Kyul asked again. She thought for a moment, and a little nervously, she gave a negative answer. The brunette asked the client to think about her question, and then she had to choose 3 cards from the deck laid out in front of her. The girl thought that she should choose carefully. After all, her luck in love depended on only 3 cards. She made her choice. I asked to be allowed to see them. The blonde was impatiently awaiting the result. The first card was the lovers. They symbolized love and relationships. This meant that she was probably dating someone right now. She advised her to choose carefully, because the girl was at the crossroads of an important choice. Perhaps it was a fateful decision. Kyul was perplexed. The fortune teller assured her that she needed to look at the other cards for greater clarity. The next card was the 2 of Swords. It symbolized choice. It showed uncertainty about whether the girl likes someone now. Kyul thought it was pretty similar to what was happening in her life now. The last card was the Knight of Cups. It indicated that soon someone would express their feelings to the blonde. Aisha explained that even if she didn't make a choice, this person could come to her himself. The blonde was as if in a fog. The girls squealed that they were very curious about who it would be. Kyul asked if she should have done nothing. The tarot reader said that it wasn't that simple. The last card meant the need to put your thoughts in order, so as not to create problems for another person. If the girl can't come to the answer herself, she might miss the chance. The blonde thanked him. The fortune teller asked who else wanted to know their future. Sue raised her hand. Her friends noticed that she had just started dating a guy. Kyul thought about what she had heard. Make a choice. Put her thoughts in order. And she didn't know if it concerned her relationship with her best friend. If the tarot cards were not lying, this had to be taken seriously. The girl set the alarm for 7:30. The guy was looking at his phone screen. The waiter said he had brought the order, but it was worth frying it a little before starting to eat this gopchang. Kapte sat and inhaled the aroma that made his mouth water. It was already 8. His girlfriend was late, but the guy believed that she would be there soon. The girl's phone was still switched off. Finally, the brunette called Dahi. He asked what he was doing. He told him that Cole had not come, and he invited his friend to share dinner with him. The athlete said the food was too greasy. Even 1 bite would cost him an hour of cardio. The brunette asked why he came then. He replied that he did not want to leave his friend in trouble, but he still decided that it would be impolite to refuse completely. He tried a piece. 15 minutes later, the plate was empty, and the friends had stuffed their stomachs to the brim. The bottles of cola and soju were empty. The overfed Taepshin was presented with a huge check. The guy paid for himself and his friend without thinking. When they left the establishment, Dahi shouted that he'd only planned to do cardio for an hour, called it a weakness. Now he triumphantly said he'd planned to do it for 3 hours. He thanked his friend. Such a load should have made the boy stronger. Taepshin looked at him as if he was crazy. The brunette thought that he himself needed to take a break. It was worth doing some exercise too. He was upset that his girlfriend had not kept her promise. It seemed like he was the only one who was worried about it. Kyul asked what time it was. She was told 7:42. The girl was surprised why the alarm had not gone off. Her phone was dead. The girl calculated that if she ran right now, she would be only 10 minutes late. That was acceptable. Jumping up, she asked the boys for permission, but Yoha suggested going together. He said he was going in the same direction, and Kyul agreed. The blonde wanted to run, but the guy was talking so enthusiastically that she couldn't find the right moment. Suddenly, the guy asked if there was anyone she liked. Kyul didn't understand at first, but then she answered that there wasn't any. The interlocutor asked if she really didn't like Taepchun. She denied that too, reminded that the guy was just a friend. The blonde asked the girl if she was okay with him showing feelings for her. He admitted that he was really in love. He acted like that because of Taefyung. Kyul was surprised. She said that she was friends with the brunette, and there was no need to worry about it. She immediately began to reproach herself. The guy had just confessed, and she had said such things. How everything fell upon our heroine at such an unfortunate moment. One guy confessed his love. The second was now waiting for her in a cafe. The guy suggested that his interlocutor cancel the meeting with Taepchun if she didn't feel sympathy for him. Yoa asked if the girl could not go to a meeting with another guy today. And if he was just a friend, then he suggested saying that an urgent matter had come up. The girl asked herself what he was suddenly talking about, and she couldn't imagine what exactly the tarot cards were saying about Yoha. A loud sigh escaped from our heroine's chest. The guy understood it in his own way, and assured her that he could wait if his confession was too sudden. Kyul hesitated. The girl could not understand why everything was happening at such an inopportune moment. She asked herself why she could not answer and hesitated. Late in the evening, the gym was almost empty. The heavy breathing of the guys could be heard. Taepchun took a dumbbell from the shelf. As he thought, doing sports didn't help. Soon he gave the projectile to Dahi. The friend immediately began to exercise, but the guy wanted to talk to him, and he decided to tell about himself as if from a third person. It was as if there was such an acquaintance who felt sympathy but could not thoughtlessly confess. It seemed that if that guy opened up and the feelings were not mutual, then their relationship could get worse. Taepchun understood that his friend had most likely already guessed who they were talking about. Yoha said that they could have drifted apart, but everything could have turned out well. The friend thought that this was also possible. It was difficult to predict everything in advance. After all, just like today, sometimes things went wrong. The athlete assured that it was better to regret what he had done than to later reproach himself for inaction. Our heroine pulled her cap down over her eyes. She thanked Yoha for his frankness. This was a rather unexpected confession for the girl and threw her off balance a bit. The guy said he was ready to wait, but that wasn't the point. The girl said that she had an appointment with Taepchun earlier, and she couldn't not go there. After all, she had already promised her friend, but Yoha couldn't understand it. Without experiencing tender feelings, it didn't matter whether she would mark the meeting or not. But the girl thought it would be right. She suggested pretending that she hadn't heard about the request not to go to Taepchun, and she suggested talking about the rest later. Kyul said that she was already late, and getting ready to speed up, she walked forward down the street, leaving her interlocutor alone in confusion. Yoha grabbed his head. The girl didn't let him get a word in, and it turned out that Kyul had simply turned him down today. The traffic light at the crossing was red. Crossing the roadway was prohibited. Our heroine was catching her breath from running fast. Kyul didn't know what to do. After all, she was more late than it seemed. But she could only use the phone once. The communication device needed to be charged. The girl got so carried away that she forgot about the meeting. Taepchun wanted to cheer up his friend in this way. The girl reproached herself for being too carefree. Suddenly, in her haste, something happened to her leg. Either she tripped or stumbled, and a moment later, our heroine fell on the pavement tiles. A dull sound was heard. Kyul was sitting on the road, and her phone was lying face down next to her. The girl didn't even immediately understand what had happened. Turning the smartphone towards herself, she unfortunately saw the damaged screen of the device. The girl felt annoyed. And then she started whining, and she started asking herself why she always had troubles when she needed something. After all, now the phone wasn't working. After a while, the employee of the establishment politely asked the girl who she was looking for here. Cole looked around in search of her friend, and then she asked if there was a guy waiting for someone. The waiter wasn't sure. It seemed like Taepchun had already left. Then our heroine dared to ask to charge her phone. But when she plugged in the cord, it didn't work. The cracked screen of the device was permanently dark. Then the girl decided to go to Kap Tepchin's house, and although she wasn't sure if the guy was home, it seemed like the best option at that moment. Kiwol persistently knocked on her friend's door, but no one answered or opened it for her. The girl leaned her head against the door, and if Tepchin wasn't home, the question arose of where he went. Our heroine assumed that her friend was angry with her, and she understood that such a situation could piss anyone off, but there was no other way out except to wait here. Kiwol sat right under the door on the threshold and began to ask herself why she had acted so stupidly, and to top it all off, she fell and broke her phone. Looking at her palm, the girl only now noticed that she had hurt herself. The wounds on her skin were still bleeding a little. Resting her head on her knees, Kiwol asked herself what she was doing. She began to reproach and scold herself, but then she thought that if she waited, the guy would come anyway. It was already quite late when our heroine saw Kap Tepchin. Stump was slowly walking along the sidewalk returning home. Kiwol immediately rushed to meet him. She asked where he had been and why he had come so late. The young man answered with a question. Wasn't she with Kam Joka? The girl repeated this question of where he had been all this time. This angered Tepchin. After all, his friend herself had not come to the meeting. And now she was yelling at him instead of apologizing. The guy wanted to tell something and had already started a sentence, but he changed his mind mid-sentence. He covered his face and asked in a tired voice to forget. He suggested talking later. Kiwol asked her to forgive her. After all, it happened by accident. She said that she was spending time with the guys and didn't notice how time flew by. And then she broke her phone on the way. The girl insisted that she wanted to come quickly, but Yoha volunteered to go with her. And then he started an important conversation. But that was not important now. After all, she was guilty. She whined and said that she had taken it lightly, taking it for granted. After all, Tepchin wanted to take care of her. The guy cursed to himself. After all, when his childhood friend did that, he couldn't even get angry. He decided to act. Interrupting Kiwol's apologies, he bit her lips with a kiss. Kap Tepchin decided that even if he regretted it later, it was still worth trying and seeing what would happen. The guy agreed to regret it later, but he could no longer hide his tender feelings from his childhood friend. Our heroine pulled away from the kiss. She looked at the guy with wide eyes. She asked him what he was doing. Kap Tepchin said that the girl could push away if she didn't like it. Otherwise, he asked not to stop him. And while Kiwol was trying to collect her thoughts, the guy kissed her passionately again. The girl thought that it was too much for friends, but the young man no longer saw her as a friend. And he asked if the girl saw him as a friend. Kiwol hesitated. She couldn't give an answer right away. After all, it all happened so suddenly. The girl picked up the cap that had fallen from the road. And putting it on again, she asked what had just happened. Kap Tepchin asked if the sympathy was mutual, and assured that he was not going to retreat anymore. The guy's pulse was off the charts. It seemed like his heart was about to jump out of his chest. After all, he never thought that words about sympathy would fly from his lips. Kiwol said that she didn't know anything now, and she wanted to leave first. She asked to forgive him for today, promising to repay him later. The guy was surprised that she was going to leave like that without giving an answer. And he grabbed his beloved by the elbow. She looked back. Tepchin assured her that he would not change his feelings, and promised that everything would be as before. But now the guy was not going to hide his love for Kiwol. He took his beloved by the hand. Our heroine tried to understand what was happening to him, and the most inexplicable thing was that the girl did not understand what was happening to her. She said that she knew nothing, and walked away. Kap Tepchin wasn't going to give in so easily. But today, his childhood friend, after hearing his confession, actually dumped him here. In the night windows, lonely lights were burning here and there. Entering her home, Kiwol fell onto the bed. It seemed that she was going crazy, and there was a question of what to do now. Our heroine touched her lips, and realized that today she and Tef had a kiss. Kiwol's emotions turned into a scream. She was lying on her back, waving her arms and legs. She asked if what was happening to her was normal. Our heroine had been friends with Kap Tepchin since she was in diapers. That's why they had a relationship like brother and sister. The girl picked up her phone out of habit. It had been a difficult day. It seemed like everyone around had gone crazy. And on top of everything else, the phone was finished. After thinking about the disaster with the smartphone, the girl decided that it was even lucky that it was broken. The girl really didn't know what to do. She lay on the bed and waved her arms and legs. After all, this was a serious incident. She remembered how Taepchun asked if the girl liked him, and that he no longer intended to retreat. Then the phrase said by the guy suddenly caught her attention, and now she tried to understand the meaning of what was said. If the girl were still at school, she would definitely be happy about this situation, but she was naive then and didn't understand her true feelings. But now, everything was different. Kyul knew that it was not worth crossing the line of friendship, and that is why the girl tried so hard to draw the line. Then, at the moment of Taepchun's confession, our heroine suggested that they continue to be ordinary friends as before. Now lying in bed, she did not understand why this had happened. And the hardest thing was now, after everything, to look her childhood friend in the eyes. Meanwhile, Cap Taepchun entered the apartment and, closing the door, leaned his back against it wearily. For some time he considered the situation, then he even became sad. Suddenly, he either howled or screamed at the top of his lungs, like a madman that he had crossed the line. He asked himself if he had gone crazy, but he consoled himself that everything had already happened. And come what may. Lost in thought, he began to touch his lips. His heart suddenly quickened its pulse. The next day was a clear, sunny day. Our heroine reminded herself that her phone was broken. Now Kyul couldn't contact anyone, so she decided to go alone. She looked around the corner, hoping very much not to meet Taepchun. But seeing the guy, our heroine hurried to hide right away. It was like an air raid alarm and a red signal. It was necessary to wait so as not to cross paths with him. Kyul even thought about whether she should take an academic leave. Now in the lecture room was the most difficult. Our heroine stood on the threshold in indecision. After all, there were two people sitting there now, with whom the girl felt awkward. Both guys were currently waiting for an answer from Kyul. But then something went wrong again. At the door, the girl met Kyul and asked if she was going to come in. A classmate urged her to go faster. Our heroine nodded in response and smiled broadly. So it turned out that Kyul simply had no choice. And Cap Taepchun, as luck would have it, was sitting at the very beginning. The guy noticed the one who came in. And after that, he didn't take his eyes off her, but he didn't hurry to greet her. Kyul was horrified when she caught his gaze on her, and she quickly looked away. Cap Taepchun called out to our heroine and asked where she was going. Smiling, she greeted him, pretending that she had just seen him. Pointing her finger, the girl said that she was going to sit down there. The brunette looked sternly, and tapping his finger, he indicated a place at the table next to him. Now Han Kyul sat between the two boys. A bunch of questions swarmed in her head, and the feeling was like pins and needles. Yoha was the first to break the silence. He politely asked if the girl had gotten home all right yesterday. The woman smiled sweetly at him and confirmed it. The guy said that he did too. At this time, Kang Taephyung silently watched them with a face full of hatred. Yoha reminded about yesterday's conversation and asked the girl not to feel burdened. Kyul said that was not the case. Then her childhood friend pulled her chair closer to him with a terrible sound. Turning around to her childhood friend with an angry look, our heroine asked him what he was doing. Cap Taepchun coldly informed that the class had already started, and it was worth keeping quiet. The girl considered him shameless. She asked herself how he could want to sit next to what I did yesterday. At that moment, I wanted to run away so much. Summing up, the lecturer said that I would need to prepare a report for the next class. Han Kyul was happy that the class was over, but she unfortunately realized that she had not learned the lesson material at all. The question arose of what to do with this object. The easiest thing was to simply not go to it, but now something else was important. Since the lesson was already over, both guys would soon try to talk to her, and the girl suddenly really wanted to run away alone and quietly. The teacher asked which of the students would be willing to help carry some things to the warehouse. Han Kyul saw an opportunity and volunteered by raising her hand. The athlete saw that the girl was having a hard time. He asked if she was okay. She was shaking all over from the incredible effort, but answered that she was fine. Kyul decided to sort things out quickly and run away quickly. But then a classmate, seeing her titanic efforts, called out and offered her help. She refused. Classmates began to worry about Han Kyul. After all, the box looked quite heavy. It was obvious that something had happened, that the girl had run away like that. Cap Taepchun decided that he was the reason for the girl's behavior. The brunette asked Sue where Han Kyul had gone. The girl replied that she had carried out the request of the professor's assistant to take something to the warehouse, and that she asked her comrades to go forward. This made her interlocutor happy. She even smiled. After all, it was such a rare opportunity to go alone with Taepchin without his childhood friend. She was going to make amends for what happened and be there. Meanwhile, Hankul was puffing with all her might, carrying something very heavy to the warehouse. Our heroine calmed herself down by saying that she had done everything possible to avoid talking to Cap Taepchin, and not only him. Finally, the girl put the box on the floor. She was going to quickly leave everything and go. After all, she couldn't continue to avoid Taepyeong forever. An answer had to be given. Then someone nearby asked in a bass voice to give it to him. It turned out to be the one our heroine was thinking about. The girl was quite surprised and asked when he got there. The brunette assumed that Kul had done it on purpose to escape from him. The interlocutor tried to refute this, and assured that she simply wanted to help the professor's assistant. Cap Taepchin put the box on the chair. He said that the girl tried in vain, that he knew and saw her lie well. Suddenly, something banged loudly. Our heroine got a little scared and became wary. A childhood friend began to laugh at her and parodied her facial expression and voice. Kul was angry with his mockery. Taepchin said that there was nothing surprising in the fact that the door closed, and he attributed the girl's reaction more to her attempt to escape without giving him an answer. Hankul suggested to answer her friend right now with a fist. The guy agreed, but only so that he would not be avoided by ignoring. The young man was turning the handle of the warehouse door. He said that he was upset by his girlfriend's behavior. She said that she didn't understand what was being discussed, and also so why he fiddled with the handle for so long. It turned out that the door wouldn't open. The girl asked him not to joke like that, but Taepchin was speaking to her quite seriously. He was hot here, and therefore wanted to get out as quickly as possible. The question arose as to how it happened that the door closed itself. Of course, it was possible to call someone. The young man chuckled and scratched his head. Cole claimed that the phone was not for show. It turned out that his device was dead. Taepchin asked his interlocutor about her phone. The girl showed a broken screen. Kul started to lose her temper. She screamed that it was easy to break the door down by hitting it harder. She punched the door. Muffled sounds. The blows were heard from outside the warehouse. The girl decided that she had to try. After all, classes were over, and it was unlikely that anyone would come here until tomorrow. Cap Taepchin was absolutely calm, and he suggested waiting until someone came here. He considered it the best option. Our heroine was surprised how he could be so confident, and she believed that his parents clearly had not made a mistake with the name. And since there was no choice, the girl also decided to wait passively. There was a chance that another group of students could come here. They sat like that for about 2 hours. Although it was spring, it was as hot as summer during the day. The couple were in a cramped warehouse with no sign of ventilation. The first to lose his temper was Taepchin. He decided to strip to the waist because of the heat. The girl was horrified by what he was doing. Kul asked if the guy really wanted to get completely naked. The friend reminded him that they had done something similar when they were in high school. The girl said that the situation was completely different and asked Taepchin to get dressed quickly. The guy leaned back in his chair. He was so hot that he was ready to break down the door, just to get out of here as soon as possible. Here, Cap Tae got a punch in the face from his girlfriend. The girl demanded that he get dressed immediately. She found it simply disgusting. The clothes thrown in the guy's face hung on his head. Taepchin sneered that his appearance had upset the girl. She called him crazy with disgust. Soon the t-shirt was put on the young man. He smiled and suggested that Kul talk about yesterday. She stuttered and asked again. Cap Tae asked if she had thought about the answer. The girl thought that there was no need to rush to answer such an important question. The young man smiled sweetly and suggested that she think about it in that case. He assured her that he was ready to wait as long as necessary. Leaning over and touching her shoulder, he assured her that in any case, they would not be able to get out of here quickly. Cap Tae knew that the girl could not escape from here, as she had yesterday. Cole blushed and said that she did not escape. Our heroine asked herself why her friend was approaching her like that, and she cautiously assumed that the guy was going to kiss her yesterday. But he suddenly laughed. He found it funny how the girl's face suddenly turned red. It was driving him crazy. At that moment, Cole felt like the guy was just making fun of her. Kaptae said that she had a very cute reaction. The girl asked not to make fun of her. Maybe it was funny to him, but for her it was the first kiss. Kyul was sure that the guy had done this many times before. But for her, it was the first time. The question arose of what to do now with her first kiss. She asked how he was going to fix it. And Kaptae couldn't understand why even this behavior of hers seemed quite cute. Hankul closed her eyes and demanded compensation. She called the guy a bastard. She considered the first kiss so important. And then the guy decided to kiss her again, and immediately pressed his lips to hers. Breaking away, he said that this was no longer considered the first kiss. Kyul was indignant. The guy said that he wasn't joking at all. He was being as honest with her as possible, and he didn't do it out of curiosity or frivolity. Leaning his forehead on her shoulder, the guy spoke of his fear. He was worried that everything could end badly. Kaptae said that the girl seemed rather frivolous to him. But despite this, she moved confidently without looking back at others. He repeated his question about mutual feelings. Our heroine did not know what to answer. She rubbed her fingers in indecision. The guy admitted that he guessed about her sympathy. He knew that he skillfully pretended, as if he did not guess about it. Taeyepchin had no feelings before, and he thought that his friend knew about it. Having apologized, the girl assured that it was so. Kyul was young and touched by how well her friend treated her, and she even thought that he would date her if he told her about his feelings. Our heroine often saw Kaptae with other girls, how they had a great time, chatting and having fun, so her feelings gradually cooled and disappeared. But now that the guy was doing this, Han Kyul felt awkward. Her feelings were mixed up. Kaptae asked what to do if his friend suddenly became so beautiful. After all, he didn't even have time to notice when the tomboy Kyul managed to grow so much. The guy also didn't know how everything turned out this way. After all, he had long perceived her as a friend. But at some point, the girl began to seem more and more beautiful. Kaptae asked if he really needed a reason for someone to start liking him. After all, it didn't happen on his own accord. The guy suggested thinking about this topic more simply, and suggested that Kyul's thoughts did not mean that the chosen one did not like him. The girl asked him how he came to this. Taepchin was happy. It seemed that he would eventually make his beloved say that she could not live without him. Everything needed time, and the first step was made in the form of a kiss. He reassured himself that the confession would be a little late. Cole asked not to be frivolous, but the guy said this so as not to escalate the situation. He was afraid that the girl would run away from him again. The interlocutor denied it, but she also did not promise to give her consent. Kyul didn't know if she could trust the guy. After all, she was aware that she still had feelings for him. And so she decided to follow her heart. The girl complained out loud about the heat. Kaptae suggested that she undress so as not to die. Han Kewol took the advice as a cruel joke. She got angry and started shouting. The guy even covered his ears so as not to go completely deaf. He asked if there was any other clothes under the hoodie. Taepchin turned away and, promising not to look at her, commanded her to undress. He assured her that he understood everything. The girl ordered him not to turn around at all. The guy demonstratively sat with his back to Kyul. She threatened that if he turned around, he would end up on the front page of the news tomorrow. Taking off her warm clothes, the girl allowed Kaptae to turn around. She began to feel much better. Han Kyul now understood why the guy decided to undress. After all, it really did seem cooler. And if she hadn't taken off her sweater, she could have died soon. The girl said that it was worth looking for a way to get out of here as soon as possible. But Kaptae was barely listening to her anymore. His gaze was riveted on the cleavage of his friend. With a titanic effort, the guy turned away. He started mumbling something and pointing his finger. He said that he hadn't had time to see anything, and he tried to persuade himself to think about the sublime. Only then did Quell notice how clearly her underwear was translucent. The girl was horrified. Having apologized to the guy, she immediately decided to get dressed again, and she began to pull the hoodie back over her head. Taepchin warned that the girl could soon die due to the high temperature in the warehouse after getting dressed. He promised to simply not look in her direction, but Han Kyul was still embarrassed. The only good thing was that today she was at least wearing decent underwear. She whined, asking for someone to open the damn door, or for someone to walk past the warehouse. It was getting dark, but no one was looking for our heroes. And it was unclear how long they would sit locked in the warehouse. It was already evening, and it was clear that no one would come now. Cool hoped that they wouldn't have to die here. The guy asked her not to push things. Cap Tepchen was sure that someone had to come. Andy suggested waiting a little longer. The fair-haired boy was completely absorbed in something on his smartphone screen. It was surprising that Cool did not go to the chat room and did not respond to messages either. Yoha perceived this as ignoring. He began to reassure himself that there was no place for him next to Kuhl. It turned out that his curiosity overcame him, but even in this case, he hoped for a good relationship with the girl. He assumed that she had an avoidant personality type. I wanted to avoid awkward situations and not lose the friendship, and talk to her frankly and sort everything out. The young man left by train, and all the way he was racking his brains about what had happened to Han Kuhl. He still hoped to get an answer from her, and our heroes were still stuck in the warehouse. The girl was hysterical that she didn't want to die, that she hadn't tried many things in life yet. Captain couldn't stand her lamentations. He asked her to stop whining and wait calmly a little longer. There was a sound of hungry rumbling from the stomach. The guy suggested that Cool not waste his energy so as not to get even hungrier. But the girl found it hard to bear. Even her hands began to shake from hunger. Suddenly, Tepchen remembered that there was a chocolate bar in his bag. He said that with this, he could hold out for a while. It was a protein product with almonds in a 50-gram package. The guy took it out and showed it to Cool. The girl was happy, and she suggested that they split the bar and eat it together. Captain did not agree to share. He said that it was his food supply. The girl asked about herself. The boy asked to say the magic word, please. Kuhl's face expressed bewilderment. Afterwards, she looked away. She was surprised that even at such a moment, Tepchen was able to joke. Then the squabble began again. After unwrapping the candy bar, the guy asked his girlfriend to say, please. The aroma of chocolate drove Kuhl crazy. She rushed at the guy, demanding that he give her everything. But his arms were longer. Kapte asked his friend to come to her senses. The girl didn't calm down. She said that she was going to eat it all herself. But while they were fighting, the bar fell. Because of the darkness, it was not clear where exactly the life-saving food had fallen. Kapte assumed that it was not a very suitable place. The girl asked to clarify where exactly. The girl was surprised that there were those who worked until the very night. The student assured that he liked to work. Then the professor called with a request. The girl responded with consent to his request. They quickly said goodbye and went their separate ways. The guy was surprised that the warehouse was closed. It's good that he had a spare key with him. The lock mechanism clicked. The door opened. The young man, seeing the picture from the threshold, was quite surprised. Kuhl was kneeling in front of Kapte. Her face was next to his private part. A classmate asked what they were doing here. Trembling all over, he asked the boys for forgiveness. He put the box down and, slightly stuttering, suggested that they continue their work, which was accidentally interrupted by his appearance. Tepchen protested. He called the girl to leave here. While putting on his sweater on the go, he commented that it seemed as if he had risen from the dead. And the guy thought it was suspicious that the couple was leaving the warehouse, both getting dressed gradually. Kapte said that he almost died from the heat in the warehouse. Han Kuhl also panted and pulled on her hoodie, and this aroused suspicion in their classmate. The guy wondered why they were doing this in the warehouse, even if they were impatient, when there were so many more suitable places around. Kuhl barked out a denial. She assured him that they were trapped here, and Tepchen was indignant that he was hinting at something unimaginable. The girl said that first they heard a crash, and then the door was locked. The young man insisted that the warehouse had always been open, and it was surprising that just when two people were there, the door suddenly closed, and he asked if love was really something bad. He gave advice to choose a better place and time for this, but our heroes were unable to convince him otherwise. He only asked for the spare key to the warehouse back, promising to take it to the office. The guys answered in a tired voice in unison that they didn't have a key. Kapte suggested to his friend to go already. He complained that he was already all sweaty. The girl was disgusted by this. The friend said that if she had not run away, this would not have happened. The classmate felt strange. After all, there were two spare keys. He had one of them, and the question arose, who had the second one? Our heroes went outside. Kuhl began to shiver. After all, it was already night, and it was quite cool outside. Capte offered the girl to put on his sweater, but she flatly refused. Not far away, another couple caught their attention. The guy was kissing his beloved and wrapping her in his clothes. Taepchin suggested his beloved to do the same, but the girl decided that he had gone crazy while he was sitting in the closet, and she said that she had not made a decision yet. The guy had tried to smooth things over by saying that he had made a bad joke. Cole sent him home to take a shower. She needed to wash herself too. Our heroine didn't know if it would be right to part like that. She called out to the guy. She wanted to say something to him, but then she remembered that she had promised to think about it because she was afraid to rush. And turning away, she said goodbye to Capte. Taepyeong asked Han Kul not to worry. He reminded her that they had been friends for many years. He asked her to do as her heart told her, but the girl barked that it was easy only in words. She admitted that her heart was anxious. After all, it was her first relationship. That's why she was so worried. She thought that it didn't concern the guy. And if you think about it, he knew that Kul liked him. The girl asked why only now he became so persistent. Capte smiled. He asked for forgiveness. He assured that for a long time, he saw her only as a friend. Our heroine was indignant. Her heart quickened its rhythm. The girl always lost to this smile of his. Kul said that he dated all the girls at the time. She suggested that he could have done the same to her. Taefyun confirmed that he dated different girls at different times, but none of them were his lover. But with her, everything was different. After he began to see Kul in this way, he began to think and worry a lot. At that time, the guy seriously thought about the fact that for the first time, he really liked someone. Taepchin said that it just happened that way, and suggested that the girl take out all her anger on him. She immediately started punching the guy in the ear and slapping him on the head. The guy reminded her that she hadn't fully accepted his feelings yet, and he suggested that she just watch him. Kul answered him rudely, and also that if something doesn't suit her, she will simply dump him. Capte smiled back at her anyway, reminded her that she couldn't take back her words. The guy said it would be funny if he dumped the girl, and then she punched him in the shoulder. Kul was furious. Sometime later, our heroine was sitting at home in front of the computer. The day had been busy, and she was damn tired. The girl found her life rather strange. She wondered what the chances were of being locked in a warehouse. It seemed even more incredible to kiss there twice. Cole tiredly laid her head on the work table. The girl wondered to what extent she was defenseless. After all, if Midge found out about this, there could be big trouble. The brunette instructed our heroine that she shouldn't smile at everyone. This also applied to Capte. After all, her body was priceless. Having put the books on the shelf, the girl decided to put her schedule in order and go to bed. A random photo caught her eye. It was a photo taken with some kids in high school in a photo booth. Pressing the photo to her forehead, our heroine thought. She reproached herself for having managed to kiss him. Kul decided that she would surrender to fate. She had no idea what the future held. She decided to start her tomorrow by fixing her phone. And she also had to give Joe an answer. The guy was walking down a dark street dimly lit by a single street lamp. While talking on the phone, he was surprised that his friend was still in the gym. And then I decided to just go home. And I agreed to meet my friend at the university. Here he saw the silhouettes of two people in the darkness. He recognized the girl. It was Sue, and he saw her interlocutor for the first time. He became curious about what was happening there. He remembered that the girl said that she had met. Therefore, it was assumed that it was her boyfriend. But from a distance, it seemed to him that the couple was arguing. The young man told himself that it was not good to eavesdrop, and it was time to hurry home himself. It was not worth interfering in someone else's personal life, and even couples in love sometimes quarreled. The guy thought about it, scratching his head. He reminded himself that he should call Kul again tomorrow. Having heard the amount for the repair, our heroine asked again in surprise. The repairman confirmed 300,000 and asked whether she would be taking the phone to the repair shop. The young man, smiling obligingly but in a formulaic way, said that the client could pick up the phone from repair in an hour. And that's how they parted ways. Kul began to count her money. The amount the master had announced was her entire pocket money. After that, only 20,001 remained. Our heroine suddenly experienced a severe headache. She began to reassure herself that it was a consequence of stress, and that there was no point in worrying in vain. and she thought the best way to relieve stress was to eat something sweet. And lack of money did not mean lack of romance. There was a cafe nearby that Cool really liked. She decided that after a cup of latte with condensed milk there, relief would come. As she approached, the girl was surprised by the queue. This had never happened before. People were even standing on the street and quietly talking to each other. Kuhl didn't remember, so that it was so crowded here before. And she assumed that only she knew about this establishment. She thought that this cafe could have been promoted on social networks. The group of girls standing at the entrance were discussing the handsome guy who worked here. Cole timidly entered the cafe hall. The girl knew that there had been a change in the management of this institution earlier, but she did not know that this would lead to such radical changes. Standing at the checkout, our heroine was soon ordering her favorite latte with condensed milk. But her facial expression changed dramatically when she saw the young man at the checkout. "From McLaren!" she blurted out. And then, catching herself, she began to reproach herself for her inability to control her emotions. The question arose, what was the guy doing here? Meanwhile, the guy was placing an order on the screen, and Cool was asking if it was a coincidence that as soon as she forgot about him, they met again. Soon the girl had her coffee ready. The young man asked what kind of patch she had given her last time was. Our heroine was surprised that he remembered about the patch after so much time, and she asked herself why he looked at her like that. The cafe employee asked to take this, and he gave Kuhl various sweets from the display case of the refrigerator with desserts. Then he added some more cakes. It seemed that everything was about to fall out of the hands of the regular visitor of this coffee. The girl thought that it was too much for an ordinary bandage, and it was doubtful that it was possible to give all this away like that. Smiling, he said that he was the owner of this cafe. Now Cool understood why he had such an expensive car. I assumed that the guy was a co-owner with the previous manager. Previously, another owner complained that his cafe was deserted, praising his cakes. The girl insisted that she couldn't take all of this just because of one patch. She asked for forgiveness. She insisted that one coffee would be enough for her. The young man asked Kuhl to take it. He assured her that her act was worth it. After all, even small manifestations of care for someone could mean a lot. Our heroine didn't quite understand what he was talking about, but his speeches sounded cool. After all, whatever this handsome guy said, everything was cool. And she thanked him out loud briefly. The girl was mentally planning to buy a lot of things in return the next time she came here. She thanked him and said goodbye. At the door, Cool met a young man with a box in his hands. After greeting her, he noticed that she had bought a lot of other things today besides coffee. He was surprised why she hadn't put everything in a bag. He chuckled and invited the visitor to come again. The girl couldn't even get a word in. She said goodbye briefly in response. As she walked out of the cafe, Cool regretted not buying all those sweets. After all, the young man looked so happy. She assumed that the co-owners, they will discuss it among themselves. And she herself wondered what she should have done with all those sweets. After all, being out of her mind, she simply flew out of that cafe. The young man was surprised that his partner sold out everything from the dessert refrigerator in 1 hour. Told Eugene he was amazing. Asked if the guy could fill in for him next time. But when he looked at the screen, a question arose. Where was the information in the system about the payment of the customer who had just left, who was carrying quite a lot of desserts? After all, he knew about his partner's meticulousness. Eugene said that he simply gave that girl all the sweets that were on the counter. The replacement was extremely surprised. He reminded him that things were not going well for them and sales were not increasing. He asked if he was aware of the cost of ingredients. There were still a lot of questions. Eugene shook the red keychain. The partner hiccuped, and he said that if he did it that way, it was necessary. With a pause, he suggested that there must have been a good reason for that action. The young man's hands were full of the keychain. He knew that his partner was extremely precise in financial matters. Therefore, it could not be otherwise. Eugene looked out the window of the cafe. He asked his partner how often that girl came here. The guy said that she came quite often, and always ordered a latte with condensed milk. Here, seeing the state of his partner, he was surprised that he could smile. Eugene was about to leave since there was now someone to work in the cafe, and he took hold of the door handle to exit. Suddenly, his partner saw a wound on his hand. and he pointed it out to the guy with alarm. I assumed he was still not done with it. The guy assured me that he had simply hurt himself while installing the furniture. The partner asked how concerned he was that the girl had returned to Korea. He thought he should just forget about her, even though she was his sister. But she had a difficult character. That's why, even though we were family, I broke all ties with her. And she shouldn't have done the same with Eugene either. The guy said that he trusted his friend and partner. He said goodbye briefly and left the cafe. The doorbell rang. The door closed behind Eugene. The friend, left alone, sighed heavily. After all, if he himself were as rich and handsome as the other one, he would meet a new girl every week. And no matter what it was, the other one behaved coolly. But when it came to his friend's sister, he was ready for anything. The question of the purpose of her return arose. Then he decided to close the cafe and go for a drive. Having reached the parking lot, our heroine decided that this was a good place to pack everything into a bag. The girl used the surface of the nearest bench. Turning around, she saw that very expensive McLaren car. Kuehl asked herself, mentally wondering what the guy was doing that he could afford to drive such an expensive car. I assumed he won the lottery, and the car really was incredibly cool. That's why the girl decided to take advantage of the moment to look at it for a bit and leave. Earlier, she dreamed of a Maserati, but now she loved McLaren. Kuehl wanted to be a car designer so much, and she wondered how it was possible to design something like that. The girl hoped that in the future she would be able to do the same one day. She was brought out of her dreams by a voice offering her a ride. Kuehl turned around. Eugene was standing in front of her. The guy assured her that he could take her wherever she wanted. The girl, feeling awkward, began to refuse. She was still babbling something about going on foot, about the desserts she had received. But then Eugene opened the car door, and she involuntarily screamed with delight. And then came the invitation for the guy to sit down. Kuehl's jaw seemed to drop, and once the guy even opened the door, she simply couldn't refuse. Coming out at her house, our heroine thanked Eugene for giving her a ride. She promised to wash and return the scarf to him, and she hoped that she hadn't wasted too much of his time. The guy assured that he was pleased and not at all bored in her company. Winking, he said goodbye briefly until the meeting. Kuehl began to reproach herself for her impulsiveness. Suddenly, I remembered my mother's advice, to be careful with strangers. I assumed that I would meet that guy again. Kuehl was in a hurry to pick up her phone from repair, and then she had to run to school so as not to be late. Entering the auditorium, our heroine was glad that everyone was already assembled. She immediately offered the girls to help themselves to what the cafe owner gave her. The girls began to examine and asked what it was in front of them, and each had already decided what they wanted to take from it for themselves. Then Kaptepshin approached them. He asked who the owner of the cafe was, who gave all this for free as a treat. The girl said that this cafe was located next to the service center. The boy called Han Kuehl to sit next to him. He wanted to tell him something funny, but the girl called him to her side in response. She was indignant that he hoped that she would come galloping at the first call, and she began to make faces and tease him. And then she suggested that he go to her himself. Our heroine noticed Sue's problems and said that she had blood on her hand, and next to the wound there was a bruise. The girl was surprised when it had appeared, but then she remembered that yesterday she had fallen in the bathroom and hit herself. Kuehl asked her classmate to be careful. She suggested sticking a bandage on. Here, Yoha offered the girl an ointment, and also asked Sue to be careful. His eyes seemed to glow. The classmate smiled and thanked the guy. Here, the professor announced that he had some business to attend to. Therefore, he suggested taking a 20-minute break and then returning to the lesson. It was opportune, because Kuehl wanted to talk to Yoha. She watched as the boys exchanged remarks and obscene gestures. Our heroine approached Jock. Touching his shoulder, she suggested going out to talk privately about something important. Kaptepshin asked where the two of them were going, but they answered, "A secret!" The brunette was indignant. He was completely absorbed by the question of what Kuehl would talk about with this guy, and the couple were already leaving the auditorium. The girl asked Joe for forgiveness for having to leave so quickly. The guy understood everything, but he still regretted that he had tried to persuade her not to leave. Meanwhile, Kapte stood with his ear pressed to the door and was indignant that he could not hear anything about what they were talking about. Kuehl told the guy that she had broken her phone and couldn't contact him. The guy replied that anything could happen. The girl said that she thought about her answer. Yoha guessed what she was thinking about and asked not to worry about it. The guy said he wanted to leave everything as it was. In his opinion, the problem was not big, so it was not worth worrying about. And most importantly, Yoha wanted to continue being friends with her. The girl admitted in response that she was worried about how to start a conversation. After all, this was the first time someone had confessed their feelings to her. Han Kyul didn't want to hurt her friend. Yoha laughed. Now he felt even more sorry that he had made the girl think that way. He found Kyul even stranger than he thought. Her naivety and strangeness were charming. Our heroine got the impression that they were making fun of her as if she were a fool. The guy asked her to take his words as a compliment. He thought that people would take advantage of her character traits. The girl realized that something similar was said to her by Tepchin, even though Yoha assured her that it was a compliment. But it also meant that she would have to go through a lot because of her naivety. The guy said that was why Kapte was so worried about her. But he asked her not to worry about himself. After all, he was shy, so he could feel awkward. After a long, difficult, and rather emotional conversation, they decided to remain friends. Cole told her interlocutor that he was cool, and she thought that she would like to be like him. The guy assured her that from now on he would support her no matter who she started dating. Meanwhile, Kapte, indignant that he had not heard anything, stood at the door. Suddenly, he heard footsteps and assumed that they were already returning. The guy decided that he had to leave. Yoha came out of the door and saw his classmate at the machine. He asked him what he was doing there, assuming that he was eavesdropping. Taepchin showed a can of Pepsi Cola. He claimed that he just went for a walk. The blonde leaned towards his competitor. In a quiet voice, he asked him to behave decently. Kapte barked a denial in response. Yoha said that he was initially irritated by the way the guy behaved. That's why he tried to get through to him. He kept repeating about his friendship with Kyul, even though there was no distance between them. The blonde began to pinch his cheeks, calling Tepchin a cutie pretender, not understanding what they were talking about. He said that Kyul had no selfish intentions, and the brunette should reconsider his position. That friendship would be perceived as an excuse. And if Kapte continues to behave like this, the girl will constantly hear reproaches addressed to her. He assured that in any case he retreated, hoping that the guy was smart. Yoa took a can of cola from his classmate's hands and walked away, enjoying the carbonated drink. The brunette looked after him angrily. He barely managed to scrape together some change for that jar. If his classmate hadn't said anything to Kapte, he wouldn't have cared either. But it wasn't that simple. It was the first time he felt something like this. The guy's past relationships were simple and frivolous. He didn't think much about it. Taepyeong had never thought about that relationship seriously. But with Kyul, it was different. And it bothered him. Thinking about it gave him a headache. The young man also wanted to know what his beloved felt. Were these other feelings that they had experienced as friends in the past? Kyul asked the guy what he was doing there. He recoiled, pretending to be scared. He answered with a slight stutter that he went out for a walk. The girl did not understand why Tepchin was so scared. She could not understand why he looked at her like that, and she assumed that he was doing something strange. Kapte continued the dialogue with himself. He admitted to himself that the feeling that came from within, the feeling that made his heart beat so wildly, was definitely love. Kyul asked the guy why he was so red. She suggested that he go out again to get some fresh air. The girl was annoyed by the way Tepchin was looking at her. The young man asked to forget about it. He held the interlocutor's hand. It was more important to him what his beloved was talking about with Joka. The girl froze about the topic of conversation. Kapte asked not to be left alone with that suspicious guy. Kyul replied that he himself was the most suspicious of all. The girl found what she was doing boring, and she complained that they would be doing this for another 3 years. Her interlocutor assured her that this was only the beginning. After all, not even a semester had passed since school had started. Sue was glad that tomorrow would be a day off. Here she remembered that today was Friday. She asked if the guys were busy. He suggested that they go for a beer together, and hearing the approval of her idea, the girl was wildly delighted. Kyul looked at the phone screen and told the boys that she unfortunately couldn't. Kap Tepchin said with a distorted face that he couldn't either. Both of them received a message from Lee Miji. The girl said that she was coming to them today to get drunk and die. Keul waved goodbye to the boys. She asked for forgiveness, assuring them that her classmate had suddenly announced her arrival. Kapte promised to join next time. The brunette suggested that the guys go ahead. She assured them that she needed to run into the office for a while. The friends suspected that Kija was also going to sneak out. The girl assured that the teacher's assistant had called her. She promised to join them soon. The girl who came in asked Kiju what she was looking for. Turning around, the brunette said that she came to return the borrowed stapler. Kiju hurried to leave the room and looked back with a smile as she said goodbye. The girl wished her a good weekend in response. From around the corner, Lee Kiju almost collided with a guy. It was their class monitor. He asked what the girl was doing there. The answer was that the teacher's assistant had called her for a short while. The guy was surprised because he thought the office was already closed. He had some suspicions. And since the teacher's assistant had not yet left, the young man decided to ask her. He hoped that he would be treated for his help last time. It seemed that Midge had broken up with the guy she had been dating lately. Cole was horrified. The guy reminded her that she was going to drink to death today. It would be worth taking some hangover cure with them. Having decided on that, our heroes agreed to meet in half an hour. Kapte assumed it was because of the street lighting, but today the girl seemed different from her usual self. Kuel noticed how crowded the street was. It was the first time she had gone out to drink on a Friday night. It was the first time Kapte had seen her. All made up and all dressed up. And the girl hoped that thanks to Midge, they would have a great evening. She felt so inspired. Kuel called out to the boy. He had a blank look in his eyes. She asked if he was out of order. Kapte asked again. The girl asked if he was going to kiss her again. She blushed, and holding her mouth, she warned that if he touched her lips, he would immediately become a corpse. At this point, the guy became indignant and assured her that he would not do such a thing in such a crowded place. But Cole doubted him, knowing about his lack of restraint. The girl reminded him that last time he kissed her, and warned him that in future he should do that only with her permission. Kapte whined theatrically. The interlocutor was indignant at such a strange reaction of the guy. He leaned over and smelled the scent. He was surprised that Han Kuel, contrary to her usual habits, had used perfume today. Taeyepchin said that he felt an unfamiliar smell on her. Closing his eyes, he began to noisily inhale air. The girl asked what the difference was. She thought she was free to do whatever she wanted. Kapte scratched his head. He assured me that it wasn't that he just liked it. Kuel was surprised by the voice, and if a drunken shoemaker had arrived, they could use some hangover cure. The brunette waved to the guys, happily greeting them, and then she put her arm around her old friend's shoulders. She complained that they had abandoned their friend, and they themselves had fun and studied at the university. Kapte felt uneasy from her joy. Kuel felt how the vampire was feeding on her powers. The girl called the company to drink and commanded, "Forward!" Soon they entered the diner. The brunette was lying on the table and crying loudly. Through her sobs, she complained about her ex-boyfriend. Tears flowed uncontrollably down her cheeks. She was going to get drunk and die right here and now. Taeyepchin barked at her and demanded that she shut up. After all the patrons of the establishment were already looking at them as if they were crazy. The young man who came with her was unhappy. After all, he hadn't seen her since graduation. And as soon as they met, she started crying, which spoiled the taste of the alcohol. Midji was indignant and asked why Hong scolded her. She thought that his appearance made him look like a gangster, which was scary. The guy kicked her, demanded that she leave him alone, and suggested that he file a police report against her. That's how the classmates who had spent all their school years together met. Lee Miji was a 20-year-old art student. She attended art school classes with Taepyeon and Cole, but she went to a different university. Kwok Hong was her age. The guy worked part-time at a construction site as a laborer. He was involved in judo, but had to quit his studies due to family circumstances. Kuel asked how long ago the girl broke up with her lover. She answered that it was about a month ago. Our heroine was surprised that Midge was still crying, experiencing the breakup over and over again. The girl, crying, said that the guy was playing a double game and dared to leave her, a beauty. Kuel called the indignant guy an asshole. It seemed she was ready to even beat him with her fists in a fit of rage. Midge said that the other girl was her ex's childhood friend, which made Kaptae gag. The girl continued to moan. The guy called her the only one who reacted so violently to his communication with his childhood friend. He called his beloved strange. Midge was indignant that she wanted to eat and drink alone with Kaptae. She did not want to see sad women's faces at the table. The guy said he wanted to introduce the girls, but she didn't believe in friendship between guys and girls. Hong asked who would consider Lee Miji a girl just by looking at how she behaved so badly when she was drunk. She replied that she didn't see Kwak Hong as a boyfriend either. After all, her friend was shorter than her until the 9th grade. Midge said that if any of them had feelings for each other, she would kill them all. After all 4 of them were like sworn brothers. Kaptae wanted to object, but Cool interrupted him, saying that they were all like family, and she nudged the guy with her elbow so that he would pretend and play along. Our heroine didn't like this situation. It seemed that if they told Miji about their kiss with Tepchin, the end of the world could come. The girl didn't want to hide their relationship, but she couldn't tell her close friend about it right now, so she decided to postpone it until Midge calmed down. Han thought it was crazy to be called brothers. After all, no one could know what would happen in the future. And after all, Miji and Kuel were female. An argument ensued. Han asked his drunk friend if she was a guy or a girl. She called her friend names and asked since when he thought that about her. Midge insisted that she was not one of those who could be easily ignored. The guy agreed that she was right, and he himself decided not to bother her anymore today. After going for a smoke break, Han returned and still saw the girl's tears, and she ordered 2 more bottles of alcoholic drinks from the waiter. The boys tried to persuade Midge to stop, but she said that she came there to die from an excess of alcohol. Kuel watched as her friend gulped down another bottle of soju straight from the bottle and wondered what the girl's liver was made of. The chances of survival were decreasing. When the girl lay down on the table, Cap Tepchin was worried about her. He asked if she was okay. Han Kuel, lying down and barely moving her tongue, said that she could not drink anymore, and she was going to go home. Her friend called her weak. The question arose as to what was the standard of weakness. The boys announced that they would stop drinking for today, but Lee Miji protested. Kaptae said goodbye for both of them. He asked the guy not to drink too much, so as to be responsible for Miji. The girl leaned on Kwak Han's shoulder. She asked him to promise to stay until the last bus. The young man realized that he would have to cope with this alone. When he went outside, Kaptae asked if the girl could walk on her own. Kuel assured that she was fine, but she staggered as she took a step. The guy managed to grab her arm. The girl thanked Tepchin with a smile. It turned out that she had stepped on her own shoelace and asked him to stop while she tied them properly. While his interlocutor sat down, the guy looked at his hand in dismay. He thought sadly that he should have kept his distance. Kuel said that she was ready to continue her journey. She said that she felt dizzy when she stood up abruptly, and she was grabbed by the arm again. Our heroine was indignant. She suddenly remembered how she had dragged Kaptae on her back when he had gotten dead drunk. And it was strange why he had only offered her his hand. I remembered the name of that girl, Sunja. She screamed for the guy to carry her on his back now. He thought it was inappropriate. Kuel recalled the incident when she picked him up drunk. She was still angry at him for that. It was unheard of for a girl to carry a guy on her back. Then she said that now Kaptae would have to put up with her drunken behavior. Otherwise, she promised to be even angrier with him. The young man had already agreed to everything and promised to accept all her drunken debauchery as it was. Kuel first demanded to be carried on his back. Soon, Tepchin was hobbling along one of the dimly lit streets with a drunk girl on his back. She demanded manners and treatment and not to touch her buttocks. The guy assured that he did not even intend to pester her. Kuel screamed that he decided to get even since he couldn't kiss her. At the same time, she was drunk and waving her legs in the air as hard as she could. The young man asked him to calm down so as not to fall. But our heroine was only pretending to be drunk in order to get back at him for his relationship with Sunja. The tired girl hugged Kaptaevin's neck. She promised to close her eyes to all this time. The guy asked to clarify. It was about thoughts about Kaptae's ex-girlfriends. Kuel suddenly felt a pleasant aroma from the guy, and he asked his beloved not to sleep. But she was sleepy, and nothing could be done about it. Having delivered the girl home, Kaptae himself sat down tired on the floor. He asked if she had sobered up yet. The answer was negative, because she had drunk 3 bottles of soju. He suggested using a hangover cure that he had recently bought. Kyul agreed, but warned that she was not finished with it yet. The guy boasted about his uniqueness, that he was able to carry her on his back until victory. He expected praise for this. The interlocutor considered his smile to be too much, and she wanted to pretend that nothing had happened. But Kyul fell in love with that smile and immediately reached for his lips. A kiss ensued. Kaptae asked if she was still drunk. He was surprised. The girl reminded him that he had promised to accept any drunken antics today, although the girl was almost sober, but she preferred to continue pretending. The brunette touched her lips with his finger and allowed her to do whatever she wanted. Kyul said that there could be problems. The guy confirmed his readiness to accept everything. Our heroine decided not to hesitate and try everything, and she began to kiss his palm with rapture. And then she even started to bite a little. Kaptae was surprised, because this was her first relationship. The guy mentally asked her for forgiveness, that he could no longer restrain himself. His beloved's behavior provoked him. Mentally apologizing to the girl once again, he pushed her down and kissed her passionately on the lips. Kaptae held his beloved tightly by the waist with his hand, and then his fingers slid up under her clothes. His partner grabbed his hand, holding him back from further action, and loudly and sternly called out his name. Kaptae mentally commanded himself to get ready. He told the girl to stand up, and he tried to increase the distance between himself and her. The guy, burning with shame, asked for forgiveness for crossing the line. Kyul thought that she was surprised because this was the first time something like this happened to her. Taepyeong didn't want to seem frivolous, so he suggested doing this when they started dating. He meant to arrange dates near the cherry blossoms, go to the movies together. In other words, the guy suggested loving each other like ordinary students, innocently. Kaptae said a short goodbye and was about to leave. But our heroine grabbed his hand, asking him to stop. The guy was surprised that after all that had been said, Kyul still held him back, and he made an assumption. The girl said they still had unfinished business, that she was still drunk and not done with her antics. Taepyeong glanced over his shoulder at her, wondering what kind of unfinished business they were talking about. Meanwhile, the young man took the bottle from Lee Miji. He asked her to stop drinking and get ready to go home. After all, there was about half an hour left before the establishment closed. Kwok Hong promised to take her home, but the girl thought that it would not be fair. The interlocutor suggested going and beating up the culprit instead of pouring alcohol into herself. Midzi said she had already done so. Saying that it was a shame to leave it, she downed the rest of the drink, every drop. Hong asked her to stop drinking. The girl began to praise the taste, saying that it was killer. Having finished drinking, she laid her head on the table, saying, "That's it." Her friend was horrified by what was happening. After a while, Midge was lying face down on a park bench. Her friend was calling on the phone, but no one answered. Han lit a cigarette, called again, asked into the void why they weren't answering. The guy came up and poked Midge on the skull. He asked if she was going to wake up. After all, if she didn't know how to drink alcohol, she shouldn't have started at all. The girl muttered through her teeth, barely moving her tongue, that when she could get up, she would kill the idiot. Han asked who would take her home from here then. The drunken woman began to whine. Although she had been naughty as a child, her friend thought it was cute. Now he admitted to himself that he had been naive. The guy knew where Midge lived, and he admitted that if he took her, something would happen. A friend has often saved a girl from trouble, like when she took an expensive handbag without asking and hopelessly ruined it. And so it is now. Judging by the current state, Midgie will not be able to leave the house for about a week, so thought the young man, slowly finishing his cigarette. He put out his cigarette with a characteristic hiss. He understood that he couldn't leave the girl alone here on the bench. Soon a taxi arrived. The driver asked where they needed to be taken. Kwok Hong named the area and the number of the house where they needed to go. The taxi driver laughed at the terrible state of intoxication of the client's girlfriend. Hong stated that this person was not his girlfriend. The guy awkwardly joked, shaking slightly. After all, the guy sitting behind him clearly didn't look like someone to make fun of. Having arrived at the address, Kwok Hong lifted his sleeping girlfriend onto his shoulder and, puffing with tension, headed towards the door. The guy barely carried Lee Miji and placed her on the sofa. He assumed that she was so heavy because of her height, Now his back hurt. The young man decided to dial Kapte's number again. He hoped that his friend would at least pick up the phone now. But his phone was switched off. Han was thinking about giving up everything and decided to kick the girl out as soon as she woke up. In the meantime, he decided to take a little nap himself. Soon the guy was lying on a small sofa, barely fitting on it. Almost dozing off, he suddenly felt someone timidly touching his side. He looked back and saw Lee Miji. He asked what she was doing. Hin ordered her not to wander around and go to bed. The girl turned away from him and began to whine. The guy assumed that she was still sleepwalking. The young man had not seen her like this for a long time. This sight was extremely creepy in his opinion. And this time it was his hand that Lee Miji touched. The guy glared at the guest and assumed that she was still under the influence of alcohol. The girl insisted that she was already completely sober. Hong decided to test her and started asking various questions. After making sure she was sober and not sleepwalking, the guy asked if Midge was aware of herself. He said that from now on, he would be honest about what he would do, and then he asked her not to deny it. Grabbing the girl, Hong pressed her to himself and passionately kissed her lips. Kwok Hong asked the girl one last time if she would regret what she had done. Lee Miji answered that she would not regret it, and she forwarded the same question to him. The guy thought he would regret it, because she had the same look as then, but he knew he wouldn't be able to stop. Hong asked her if she liked doing this with her ex-boyfriend. She assumed it was jealousy talking. She thought it was kind of childish. The guy denied it. Midge asked what they were talking about then, and he grabbed the girl and pressed her tightly to himself. He assured that he couldn't be jealous. After all, having tried him once, his partner would never be able to do this with anyone else. Soon they both found themselves lying down. The girl grabbed his hand, asked Taepchun to wait. The guy was surprised that after what Kul said, she still held him back. She made an assumption for herself. Since the best thing to eat after alcohol was ramen, our heroes went to the nearest store. The girl reminded Kapte to charge his phone, but he was too lazy. She said that Hong had called, and she was worried that something might have happened. The guy asked if she had called back. He thought that if he needed something, he would call again later. Kul agreed with that, but Taepchun's phone was off so often that it was annoying. Our heroes sat down on the summer terrace. The guy was tense and looked at his interlocutor from under his forehead. She asked why he was upset. Kapte assured that everything was fine. The girl thought that he had decided to stop himself, and now he suddenly became angry. Kul found something cute in his condition, and she quietly laughed at him, and the guy frowned. The girl liked his position of not rushing, so as not to be frivolous. She tried to open the corn tea, but it did not work. Taepchun ordered her not to pretend to be weak, trying to trick him. She tried her best, even to the point of shaking. She said that she really couldn't open the drink. The guy told her to give him a container of corn tea. Kul didn't agree. She said she could handle it herself. An argument ensued. As a result, the guy took the pack by force and, opening it abruptly, accidentally spilled the contents on his interlocutor. Taefyung practically threw a napkin at the girl so she could wipe herself off. And she was indignant that the guy intentionally spilled tea on her because they didn't do that. The guy said he was sincere in his intention to take his time, and blushing, he muttered that he wouldn't spill water there for such a reason. Kul chuckled. She thought it was funny to make fun of the guy, and he was angry that the girl was having fun while making fun of him. The girl stroked Kapte's head, called him a cutie, was surprised that he even knew how to be embarrassed. But the guy grabbed her hand, said that if she continued teasing, he never finished the sentence. He just looked into his interlocutor's eyes without blinking. Kul leaned away from him, reminded him that he could only kiss her with her permission. Taepchun asked if the girl really thought he would ask her permission to kiss her. He said he was no longer a child. Our heroine's face was grinning evilly. The paint was thickly poured over her face. Kul cursed under her breath. She asked herself why the guy was getting so close again. She closed her eyes, bracing herself. She assumed that Kapte would kiss her against her will. But she felt nothing and opened her eyes. The guy could barely hold back his laughter. He covered his mouth. Kul relaxed and smiled back at him. A second later, Taepchun couldn't stand it any longer and was laughing openly at her expression. He asked if the girl really thought he would kiss her against her will. Kul was angry. The guy wanted to console her. He said that he had made a bad joke. He asked her not to leave. He assured her that the girl looked so sweet at that moment. The guy stood up and asked him to wait. He was going to bring something hot for both of them to eat. That was the decision. Our heroine was confused at first, so she was worried. But she felt more comfortable when she was around this guy. She decided that dating wasn't such a bad idea. And even though they weren't dating yet, flirting with Capte was pretty fun. Then the girl suddenly wondered if he'd done this fun before without her. Suddenly, her attention was drawn to the guy's phone. It was vibrating on the table next to her. She assumed it was Hong. But when I looked at the screen, I realized I was wrong. It was Sunja who wrote. In the message, she asked Capte if he was asleep. The girl was indignant that he had received a message from another woman at such a late hour. Cool unconsciously squeezed the glass tightly from emotion. Early in the morning, Hong woke up and went to the bathroom. He carefully examined his back in the mirror. There were scratches on both shoulder blades. He cursed to himself, and then he found a bite mark on his forearm, and he cursed again. He went to Lee Miji and, lifting his lip, began to examine her teeth. The guy assumed that she still hadn't gotten rid of the habit of biting. The brunette proudly confirmed this. She didn't consider the suggestion to fix it, because she had been doing it since she was a baby. Kwok Hong told her, "Fix it." Midge looked away and said he looked scary when he had that serious expression on his face. The guy thought that if he continued in the same spirit, the situation could take a dangerous turn. He thought that the previous night was just an accident. The guy grabbed Lee Miji tightly by the cuckoo and led her to the door. He demanded that she quickly go home. The girl did not understand what was happening. She asked to let her go and talk, but Hong literally pushed her out the door, asked her not to try to contact him for a while. Midge was surprised, but the guy asked her to pretend that nothing had happened between them. The girl reminded that Hong had said yesterday that having done this with him, she would never be able to do it with anyone else, and now his words seemed true. The guy sternly ordered me to stop fooling around and to quickly go and get dressed. But Midge wasn't going to leave that easily. She wanted to talk some more. And she put her feet up on the sofa. Kwok Hong thought that the girl hadn't changed a bit. He said that she could do whatever she wanted, that after a while she would want to leave. He took cigarettes with him. Lee Miji asked where he was going. She suggested going together. But he asked the girl not to follow him. And he left loudly, slamming the door. The girl cursed. She asked herself who was being more stubborn now. After all, even if you pretended that nothing happened, nothing would just disappear. She followed him out. Standing in the doorway, Midge saw a guy sitting and smoking nearby. She thought that they were both alone in this world, and she didn't believe that anything would change radically if he continued in the same spirit. Lee Miji walked to the edge of the roof and looked down with some fear. He said that the view here was really good. It seemed that she was breathing dust every day. She was delighted that there was such good and clean air here. And looking from above, everything seemed so tiny. She suggested that life here was like living in another world. Laughing, she asked why it was necessary to live here alone. Han lay and smoked his second cigarette in a row. He insisted that he saw nothing good in it. And he lived here only because he didn't have enough money for anything else. The girl insisted that she liked it here. The interlocutor called her a fool. After all, being from a wealthy family, she had no business being in such a wretched place. They started arguing. Midge's family had a large house, and they remembered an incident from school when she had ruined 3 of her mother's expensive handbags. The girl blushed and replied that she would have gotten those bags anyway, so she thought it was all quite logical. It just happened a little earlier. Han envied her way of thinking. She was offended that he was stirring up her painful past. After all, she had suffered greatly back then. The guy remembered everything, and also that he shielded the girl with himself when she was being beaten. He believed that now Midge should be more careful, because he wouldn't be able to protect the girl from everything. The girl mentally agreed with him. After all, when she got into trouble, Han always came to the rescue. And whenever she called her friend, he always came. At any time, no matter what happened, Lee Miji leaned over the guy, calling out to him, asked him how it felt to do this to his first love. Hong was indignant that the girl spoke about it so casually. She replied that such things were her strong point, and if the girl was asking about it seriously, then he was ready to give an answer. He deeply regretted what he had done. While talking to her, the guy lit a cigarette again. Miji called him a liar. Smiling, she claimed that her partner had liked it. Kwok Hong couldn't understand what was happening to him. After all, even saying such crazy things so casually, the girl seemed even more beautiful to him. He considered himself terrible. The guy, apologizing, assured that in the evening he simply succumbed to the atmosphere. He said that he could not take responsibility. Smiling, Midge said that she was responsible, since she seduced him. Plus, she had money. But Hong thought the madwoman was going crazy. He pushed her face away from his. The guy sat down and grabbed his head. He asked the guest to get dressed. After all, he had to leave for work on time. It seemed that he could listen to Midge forever. Soon, Kav Kon was seating her in a taxi. The girl resisted and protested. He hurried the guest, and then he gave the driver the address. He promised his girlfriend to pretend that nothing had happened and not to tell anyone about it, so she didn't have to worry. He asked her not to call, assuring her that he wouldn't pick up the phone. Lee Miji was outraged. The girl did not understand what was happening. The brunette said goodbye and slammed the door behind her. The car roared with its engine. The girl called him stubborn, and she believed that what had been started should be finished. And the young man ran away again. The taxi driver announced the departure and asked the passenger to fasten her seatbelt. Sitting in the back seat, the girl thought that this was not cool at all. She asked herself if her friend was really stuck in the past like a fool. But everything could have been different, and she wasn't going to give up just because of that. The driver supported her. Midge said that only brave girls could start relationships with handsome guys. The guy behind the wheel insisted that life was made up of a series of accidents. He himself had missed his chance, which is why he now lived in complete solitude. He asked the girl to gather strength. The guy suggested that Han Kyul walk together. She, clearly angry, suggested calling Sunjda and walking with her. And since that girl Kapte wrote last night, he could call her. It seemed that she would answer right away. Kul barked that girl was waiting for a call from him. Tepshin assured that she did it without warning. He assured that he himself had nothing to do with it. But his friend did not believe her. After all, why suddenly Stut was to write without reason. Only crazy people did that. The guy was confused. He assumed that she was just like that. Kul asked why he hesitated when that girl wrote. He didn't delete the message, he just hid it. Kapte assured that he was simply afraid that his beloved would misunderstand everything. The girl asked to let her look at that message, and she suddenly reached for his phone. Meeting resistance, she assumed that the guy had already answered. Taepchin opened the messenger and showed his friend that he hadn't responded either then or now. The guy suddenly saw Kyul's face. She was surprised that her interlocutor did not understand the reason for her condition. The girl associated his name, with a carefree attitude in relationships. I asked if he had been dating everyone like that all this time. I assumed that he was frivolous because I was his girlfriend, Kapte denied. But the girl did not listen and did not hear him. She barked and ordered him not to follow her and not to call again. Our heroine thought he was a fool. Soon she crossed the road at the crossing. The guy called her by name with sadness in his voice. She didn't turn around. Han Kul came home. She promised herself that from now on she would not answer his calls. She decided to organize such a strike against him. The very thought made her angry. The situation seemed strange. He assured that, having no feelings for the girl, he froze when he saw a message from her. And besides, he did not delete that message. But she began to be tormented by doubts. Was it right to be so angry? After all, they hadn't even started dating as a couple yet. It turned out that all this did not bother Tepchin, and only she was worried. Our heroine sat on the floor, resting her head on her knees, deep in thought. At such moments, the girl was at a disadvantage. After all, she had never dated anyone. She asked herself what she had been doing since she had not been in a relationship. Her thoughts were interrupted by a knock on the door. Kyul was so surprised that she even involuntarily shuddered. She was lost in conjectures as to who it could be so late. She asked, slightly stuttering, "Who's there?" The one she had been thinking about all evening answered in a low voice behind the door. Kapte said he came here because the girl did not answer his calls and messages. He asked her to open the door for him. He said he was wrong many times. Standing at the door of his beloved, the young man asked to be allowed to see her. Cool thought about it, but remained silent. She thought that the guy had come all the way to her house so that she wouldn't get angry. She wondered if she should open the door to him. Meanwhile, Capte was talking to his beloved through the doors. He assured that he simply hadn't figured out the situation, which is why it happened. The guy said it wasn't because he hadn't let go of that relationship yet. It seemed like Cool had misunderstood him. He assured that he was holding on to that girl by the hand only once. And that time no feelings arose, but our heroine did not believe him, considering him a liar, because then he drank to the point of unconsciousness. Taefyun claimed that on the day he broke up with Sunju, he was just drinking alcohol without any ulterior motive. He was sad that he broke up with someone. He admitted that all his previous relationships meant nothing. But with Cool, everything was different. The guy assured that it was the first time he liked someone so much. He didn't know if the woman he was talking to believed him. So when Cool left, he didn't know what to do. He admitted frankly that he felt good when she was just around. It was only with her that he had so much fun. Capte claimed that he wanted to spend as much time with her as possible, but after the words "don't mess with me," his heart sank. After all, he really liked it. The guy continued his monologue through his teeth. He said that if she was still angry, he was ready to wait until her resentment passed. He asked to call when he cooled down. He said he would wait. Kyul began to chuckle quietly. It was the first time she had seen her friend like this. The girl thought that if she opened up to him now, it would turn out that she wasn't angry at all, and she decided to keep him at a distance for at least one more day. Mentally asking the guy for forgiveness, she also promised to talk next time. Listening, she realized that he had gone quiet. Kyul immediately opened the door and looked out into the corridor. She assumed that he had left because there was nothing left to say. She called out his name, but as she looked around the empty hallway, she realized that Capte was gone. A moment later, she noticed that there was a white grocery bag hanging on the door handle, and there was a note stuck next to it. From its contents, it turned out that the guy bought everything she liked. He asked her to eat it all and stop being angry with him, and there was a drawing underneath. Our heroine even cheered up. He used to draw something similar in childhood. It even made her feel nostalgic. Capte hadn't changed. Here, Cool wondered how the guy knew what she liked. At such moments, it seemed that it would be better for them to remain friends. Soon the girl was already chewing on a candy bar and a bag. She told herself that she wouldn't let the scoundrel get away with it. After all, it wasn't that easy to appease her with chocolates. She was still angry when she thought about Sunja. She decided to keep her distance until tomorrow. But then she suddenly remembered the handkerchief that Eugene had given her. Last time our heroine spilled coffee while we were driving in the car. She felt like a complete idiot. And since she made a mistake, she considered it necessary to wash and return the scarf to the guy. Opening a search engine, she began to select an accessible and effective way to remove coffee stains. Here, Cole was horrified by the price tag of that brand. She counted as many as 5 zeros there. 1,200,000 won. The girl wondered if there was any point in that the scarf was so expensive, and it was definitely worth giving up machine washing. Our heroine decided to first resolve the issue with Tepchin and talk to him about Sunja. The next day, Cool picked up her laundry. But due to an error in the washing mode, the slats shrank. It was a disaster. The girl wondered why something like this was happening. She decided to go to a fortune teller when she earned a little money. But now she had only one option left, to borrow. When she entered the cafe, she expressed regret. She assured him that she had taken the scarf to an elite laundry, but it had become so small. The guy thought that the thing would be suitable as a gift for a child. The girl started whining. First, there was the phone repair. She started to reproach herself for going to McLaren then. She was thinking about getting a job at the cafe. The guy assured her that he had enough others. The girl's eyes sparkled. She admired mentally how cool the guy was. As expected, the rich king had a generous soul, as befitted people of noble origin. He said that it was a gift from his grandmother, who raised him as a child. And now it was time to throw it away. Cole shuddered at these words. The girl voiced her desire to somehow fix everything. The interlocutor assumed that she was still a student. She swallowed and admitted her mistake. She promised to pay for everything or sue the owner of the laundry. She could also work part-time. Eugene said there was one option, The girl could pay for the mistake with her body. The partner shouted at the guy indignantly. Cole asked again, stuttering. A good-natured smile shone on the speaker's face. Our heroine thought that she didn't have much to look at. She assumed that the guy might not like it. Soon Han Cole was washing the car. Now the meaning of the words became clear. And if she could pay in this way, she decided to work harder than anyone. Eugene praised the girl for the good result, but there were still coffee stains in the car from the last time. He handed her a glass of caffeinated iced drink and asked if she liked it. Keul was surprised and thanked him. The guy said that he appreciated her serious attitude to washing the car. Together, they quickly finished. The girl reminded him that she had spilled the coffee and ruined the handkerchief to boot. She was ashamed. Eugene agreed that it was too much. Our heroine was surprised how a guy with such an imperturbable face teased her. He said that the girl had been persistently called on the phone for some time. He offered to take the call and answer. Looking at the screen, she realized it was Kapte. She was angry because she told him to wait. The girl's anger had not diminished one bit since then. She pressed the call rejection button on the touchscreen of her smartphone. The interlocutor assumed that it was Cool's boyfriend. The girl hesitated. She said that she hadn't yet. It was hard to explain to her that they were sort of trying each other out at the moment. Saying it out loud made her feel a bit awkward. After all, a clear answer hadn't been given yet. Eugene couldn't understand the hesitation in her answer. It didn't look like she had any interest in the guy who called. He assumed that the couple had had a fight. Kyul thought it was funny to tell such a story to a guy she barely knew. But she decided to briefly convey the essence of the problem that had arisen. And then she added that the guy didn't delete the message, but left everything as is. And she herself thought that he liked her. It seemed that he had not yet forgotten his ex. And so, angry, she told him not to get involved with her. Eugene asked if this was the reason why the girl did not answer the calls. She confirmed it. The interlocutor assured that guys are sometimes careless, and they don't do it on purpose. But because of this, misunderstandings often arise. I assumed that this situation was connected with the young man's inexperience in terms of managing relationships. That's why he asked Kyul not to be angry with that guy. Our heroine even smiled, not expecting such a thing from herself. And I was surprised in my mind that when beautiful people said beautiful phrases, all worries melted like snow. I considered myself an insignificant little person. Eugene said that thinking of the situation as a big problem would make it even bigger. He advised focusing on how to resolve the conflict more easily. It was worth remembering how the guy behaved towards Kyul after that incident. Our heroine thought for a moment. After all, Kapte had sincerely apologized to her then. The guy summed it up and asked if his advice had helped her sort out her thoughts. She smiled and gave a positive answer. She said that his reasoning was also beautiful. Eugene was glad, and if he could help with anything later, he asked to let him know. After all, he could give the girl as much relationship advice as she needed. She sincerely thanked him. And by the way, she asked the guy about his age. He answered the question with a question. How old did he look? Kyul said 27. The guy was actually only 22. It was getting dark. The sky was painted in sunset colors. Our heroine was walking slowly and tired along the street. Everything turned out as Eugene said. The girl repaid the debt with her body. Now she realized that she had taken this matter too seriously. She walked while staring at her phone. She was thinking to herself. It turned out that Taepchin showed how sorry he was, so it wasn't worth making him wait. I decided to meet him and talk. I found Kapte's number on the phone screen. The guy was sleeping in his bed. Suddenly, his smartphone vibrated next to him. It was an incoming call. Taepchin woke up from the sound of the phone. Opening his sleepy eyes, he saw that Kul had called so late. Realizing and finally waking up, the guy jumped up as if scalded. The subscriber asked him why he answered the call so late, and asked if she was more angry. The girl demanded that Kapte go outside right now. Notified that she was in front of his house. Gave him 3 seconds, otherwise threatened to leave. Taepchin pulled his shorts up with one hand as he walked. He asked me to wait until he got there. Our heroine sat on a concrete parapet. She watched as a guy in flip-flops hurriedly ran out of the entrance. It was surprising because they had just finished a call. Kapte stopped near his beloved, breathing heavily. The girl was surprised at how quickly he ran out, and Taepchin scratched his head smiling. He looked confused and happy at the same time. He asked if she was angry.